6 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. It was a night of upsets last night in college basketball, including in College Station as number one Auburn falls 83-72 to 22nd-ranked Texas A&M behind 19 points from Zurich Phelps last night. It's the Aggies' first ever win over a team ranked number one of the AP Top 25 poll, ending a six-game winning streak for the Tigers, who clinched the SEC title with a win over Kentucky on Saturday. The Aggies, in the process, get their first win since February 15th against Arkansas last night. Speaking of Arkansas, they upset Vanderbilt 90-77 on West End last night as Johnell Davis leads the way with 21 points. Trevon Brazile had his first double-double of the season. Arkansas shot 51% from the field, limiting Vanderbilt to just 38% shooting in Memorial Gym at a 9 p.m. tip-off. There is a new highest-paid running back in NFL history. The Eagles are awarding Saquon Barkley for his historic season with a two-year, $41.2 million contract, making him the league's highest-paid player at that position. And 3 weeks after parting with Aaron Rodgers, the New York Jets released his favorite wide receiver, Devontae Adams, on Tuesday, and have also given permission to wide receiver Allen Lazard to seek a trade. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Off and running on a Wednesday morning. Welcome to the middle of your week on RKW. We are brewed up by Scooter's Coffee with locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Scooter's Coffee, amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling waking up with you. Justin Hawkins is our producer, and we stream the show live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and Twitch on a Wednesday, March the 5th, a windy and gloomy morning in Nashville. Good morning. How are we doing?
Doing well, yeah. Last night was a little loud. I don't know about you guys in your neighborhoods, but we got tree limbs falling, and Rhett was definitely wondering, like, what's going on outside.
Oh, man.
It was windy. It was a lot more windy than I thought it would be.
I saw it was going to be windy. I'm sitting yesterday because the kid was supposed to have a game. They got canceled. All baseballs got canceled for both of the boys yesterday. I'm sitting in my truck waiting to pick them up from school, and I'm just, I'm scrolling, minding my business, okay? I had a phone call, talked to Josiah Schaefer for a little bit yesterday, too.
Oh, Josiah.
He's doing all right. He said he was working, whatever that means. Whatever that means. But my truck shook, and I was just like, what in the world is going on? I thought somebody walk up to your car and push it real quick just to mess with you. Nobody was around. And I was like, okay, never mind then. And it didn't happen again. And again, I was like, oh, that's the gust of wind that is coming out. I had to give my oldest just a lesson or two in just driving in a vehicle with wind. He has a Jeep-ish type of vehicle. No, he's got a Bronco. So just having a vehicle that light and with that little canopy top or whatever, I was just like, hey, just know it might drag your vehicle across the road a time or two. So both hands, eyes up, no distractions whatsoever. So it's kind of cool to have that little lesson with him. But it was gusty, big time. Knocked over a garden figurine, a lighthouse, and that thing is 60 pounds.
Dang.
It knocked it completely over.
It was intense.
Yeah, very much so.
because you drove back in weather.
Well,
I was driving back from Knoxville. I got back around 12:30 this morning, and that was one of the harder drives I've ever done, to be honest with you, around Cookeville. I did not know if I was going to be here or on this earth when I was driving back. But no, it was kind of crazy, honestly.
Are you or have you gotten to this far yet with driving a flashers on, hazards lights on type of driver in that moment?
This was as close as I've ever been to that. At one point, I was going about 35 around Cookeville last night, and because you couldn't see more than a couple feet in front of you, and it was not fun. It was not fun.
I've been there before. No, I've been there before. Listen,
too.
well, I will go 25 on the interstate.
No,
okay?
no, I did.
Yeah, same
I did.
here.
With flashers on, and
sure.
I have actually pulled over a time or two. Just like, all right,
close.
let me sit at this gas station for a little bit.
I didn't want anyone behind me to like hit me if they didn't see me slowing down because the visibility was so bad. So I just kept it moving. Thankfully, nobody passed me at that point. But you truckers out there, do not hesitate to go
It's
by
wild.
people when it's raining really hard sometimes. And you truckers sounds really mean, and I apologize.
No.
I'm really sleep deprived. But to be honest with you, like, man, because after that, I was going like 65, just vibing.
Yeah.
And then the only time it was really dangerous was when somebody would fly by me, an 18-wheeler of like,
Spray
I
ya.
feel like the rain has started again.
Yep.
Where's the arc
I don't
and when
know
do I
how
be
they're
there?
comfortable with that.
It's because they're so heavy.
Yeah,
they're
that's
so
a good
heavy.
point.
Like they can sustain a lot. Like I saw coming back from Indianapolis. Speaking of wind, like I saw the might have been a light trailer or empty trailer get pushed to the side too. As long as they're loaded down, I think
Sure.
for the most part they're good to go. And you got to think they got a lot of feet on the ground. I mean, a lot of tires on the ground. So it's a little bit better stance than Will Bowling in his SUV. Like, I've been there too, Will. I do not blame you, and especially when you got your family with you too in that situation.
Yeah, right.
You trying to hold on.
Thankfully, the only precious cargo are my golf clubs in the back, which usually stay in my car. But I've got like a crossover, like a lower center of gravity SUV, so I wasn't worried about my car like blowing over or, you know.
You was worried
You were about the others.
I was worried about just seeing in front of me and seeing if anybody was about to hit me. So
You know what's fascinating?
back.
In those moments where your family, your dads, uncles, or like used to those moments, and you're as a kid just sitting in the back
Just vibing, yeah.
in La La Land or whatever, you be thinking to yourself like, how do you get that experience? Well, how are they so calm? It's because they got that type of experience.
yeah, because they did that at midnight driving back from another work thing.
But why'd you go to Knoxville, man? You've been a part of 2 records on the hill, dog.
If you had told me when I called the Lady Vols game against North Carolina Central back in December that having 33s by the Tennessee in one game wouldn't be the craziest thing I would broadcast in Knoxville this year, I would have laughed at you. Tennessee had 3 grand slams last night in an 11-run 7th inning that they were losing 4-2 after the second last night. They had 3 errors to start the game, and only one of those runs were earned, and they won 22-9.
Dang.
With 11 runs in the 7th, 3 grand slams in a game, which ties a record. 2 of them were in the same inning. In the 7th.
Wow, man.
And that was part of the 11-run 7th that sent everybody home. Shout out Blake Grimmer. Sent everybody home and is the reason why I'm here, even with my eyes open right now.
I know. Will was like yesterday, he's like, yeah, I'll be back around 11 probably.
Well, if it had gone to plan, I
I'm
would have.
thinking in my head, though, I'm like, you just jinxed yourself because baseball is that freaking game where you think you're going to get out of there early and then lo and behold, you know, it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and you're going, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, 3 errors in the first 2 innings to do that to you,
Exactly.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
What was the inning like where they loaded the bases? Not once, but twice. Like, was it walks? Was it bad? Did they finally
Tennessee, I think, took 13 walks in the game. In the 3rd inning, Tennessee scored 7 runs when they hit their first grand slam from Reese Chapman, and they had 6 walks just in that inning.
Just in that
At that point in the 3rd against the Highlanders of Radford out of the state of Virginia.
I got so many questions now. So did they change pitchers 1 or 2 times?
They
in that inning?
Did they change pitchers? They threw 7 pitchers in the game.
No, they didn't.
Radford did,
7
which is also
pitchers.
why
Wow.
Sean Barrows, the SID, even texted our broadcast crew at one point and said, hope nobody has work early in the morning. And I just sent back the upside down smiley face emoji of like, you know what.
I not only have work, but I have work in Nashville, not Knoxville.
And a
But
drive.
thankfully, this is not work. This is just talking about sports. This is easy. That we're not. There are people outside today that are going to do a lot more real work than we're doing. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm don't feel like I've worked today yet. But
Yeah.
I was as relieved as anybody in that stadium that Blake Grimmer, the redshirt freshman, who was pinch hitting for Hunter Ensley. I'm thinking like, Tony, buddy, Hunter could have sent everybody home early, and then Blake Grimmer said,
He did it.
Bet. Good. That's what those midweek games are for, though.
Shout out to the All-Star Special for where I prepped this radio show you're about to hear this morning at about 10 o'clock Eastern last night.
Oh, you stopped at the...
I stopped at the only place open on Paper Mill Road in Knoxville.
Oh, that's a great establishment.
With some crispy bacon, a waffle, and some scrambled eggs and hash browns.
They have by far one of the biggest road signs, too.
Sure.
That one does. Like, I noticed, I'm just like, that's got to be the biggest, billboard ever for a restaurant.
I will be slamming the Scooter's Coffee this morning is the,
I made it, by the way.
headline.
Thank you very much.
Kayla wants everyone to know she made the Caramelicious blend this morning. You have conquered the coffee machine.
Yes. I said, I'm in here. I might as well make it.
It only took you 3 years, Kayla. Like, come on, man.
You know, I'm not a big coffee drinker here. Like, I usually bring in my own.
Yeah.
But I'm like, since we have a sponsor now, I mean,
absolutely.
Why not?
It's good.
You know?
That's fair.
Shout out to Mike Wilson last night, by the way, who was my R&D department. He was my research team.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
It was challenging to find how many grand slams they had hit. Wasn't in any of the stat packs, wasn't in the game notes that I could find. And I knew they'd hit a bunch, Tennessee had. And I texted him, immediate text back. That was their fifth.
That was it.
Reese Chapman second, which I knew. I knew Reese Chapman had hit one earlier in the season. I said that as the ball traveled into the stratosphere on the broadcast. And Tennessee, by the way, they hit their fifth, sixth, and seventh grand slams of the season last night. The NCAA record is 14 in a season.
Whoa.
By Arizona State in 2003. They have hit 7 grand slams in 12 games.
No, they probably
that is
will beat
more
that record.
than 88 teams in college baseball have hit home runs.
As a team.
Damn.
That's an entire team, which still, like, that's not even bad. Like, they are unbelievable.
So the real thing is, have they set themselves up for high expectations and also teams that just simply will not pitch to them too in those situations?
It's Tennessee baseball. There's always high expectations.
Get out of here.
It's the best. I'm
just won a
serious.
national championship.
It is the best program in college baseball over the last 5 years with the best coach in college baseball right now.
Yeah.
Like they've got the number one recruiting class. They got the one of the top transfer portal classes. I think after last night, they will be the number one team in the country as long as they don't slip up now against Xavier tonight. They play again tonight, and then St. Bonaventure this weekend. I wonder if Woj will be there. We'll see. But
that's true.
They are loaded. On paper, people around there are trying to really manage expectations because on paper, they're probably deeper and more talented than they were last year.
Better
you just don't
bullpen.
know. That is even unquestionable.
Better
They have got way deeper pitching. They have got a better ace who I saw somebody I think was saying he's the number one prospect of the MLB draft at the moment.
What?
In Liam Doyle, who's averaging 20 strikeouts per 9 innings at the moment.
God dang.
Yeah, I know. It's an AJ Russell who's getting stretched out, a Franklin kid who's a potential first-round pick. Like it's wild. The thing, talking to people up there, they were like, honestly, you don't know what you have, though, until they get in some big moments, like in a 5-5 game or bases loaded, got to strike somebody out. And that's what that team was so good at last year. They were just really clutch. Yeah. And they kind of had that mentality. So we'll see if this team does. I tend to think they do. But man, it was fun. I'm glad to be here in one piece today, though.
Yeah, no doubt. And also for a guy that was in the chat that a couple days ago asking for Tennessee baseball, he missed his update right now.
Yeah, Rhett on Twitter.
Right?
Yeah.
Not Rhett Bryan, different Rhett.
Yeah, Rhett on Twitter, man. You missed the update. Will's got all the information for you right now. Just call in.
The Zone Podcast Network always has what you need.
There you go.
That's big time.
615-737-1045. Headlines on the way. Plus, an interesting comment from Austin Price of AllQuest yesterday that I think brings up an interesting conversation as Tennessee starts spring practice this week on Nico Iamaleava and pressure. And we'll talk about that next. Hey, what's going on? It is Will Bowling. You know the hoop season is winding down, and the month of March provides some mayhem right around the corner. It is very much here. Well, I'm here to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center, because if you ever feel like you are sitting on the bench because you can't hear conversations around the dinner table or at home at your favorite restaurant, they're doctors of audiology at Brentwood Hearing Center. They would love to introduce you to the revolutionary new Phonak Audiosphere. It's got a chip dedicated, specifically engineered to help patients hear when there's significant background noise. Whether you're at a noisy restaurant, at a sporting event, or while attending a cocktail party, the Phonak Sphere will help you get off the bench and back into the flow of conversation. Give Brentwood Hearing Center a call today at 615-377-0420 or visit their website at brentwoodhearingcenter.com to schedule an appointment with one of their 5 audiologists. They'd love to demonstrate the Phonak Audiosphere. Again, that's 615-377-0420 or online at brentwoodhearingcenter.com. That's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life. RKW is brewed by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, and it's live on the 104.5 The Zone app and 104.5 The Zone TV. Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, 615-737-1045. How you jump in. I'm going to talk some Tennessee football and some college football this morning based on something Austin Price told us yesterday. But, guys, first, the headlines to start the morning. The franchise tag deadline came and went, and Sam Darnold is going to be a free agent, it appears.
Ready to go.
Yes, he is.
Very interesting. Obviously, we knew yesterday that no franchise tag was reported, but maybe sometimes these teams change their minds or think, you know what, we're on our way to a deal. Let's go ahead and just tag you. That way we have more time to exclusively get a deal or trade you at this point. What do you think it says about Sam Darnold's market that Minnesota was not willing to trade or tag and trade him or just give him the $40 million that a lot of people thought he'd get on the open market a few weeks ago?
I don't know if it's more about him or less about like the production at the end of this. I just feel like they were in a spot where they weren't ever expecting Sam Darnold to be their starter. I think we all knew when J.J. McCarthy was drafted, the narrative started to begin like, can he be the starter? And then, yeah, he will be the starter. Unfortunately, with the injury, there was no other choice but for Sam Darnold to step in. And I honestly don't think they were thinking we're going to get this type of season out of Sam Darnold. I think a lot of people picked them last in their division, actually, because of the unknowns of that situation. So I would say, guys, it's more about they were already going to move forward with J.J. McCarthy and know that's our future. And in a way, I do think it puts you back a little bit if you were then to bring Sam Darnold back, give him money, and then you're in that predicament. Okay, what do we do exactly with J.J. McCarthy? Do we start him right away? Do we feel like we owe Sam Darnold? So I think it's more about they knew they just had to cut clean ties because they know their future is J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, even Kevin O'Connell in his best dreams would never have envisioned how good Sam Darnold was this past season.
No.
And it's that, too, his reputation also for Sam Darnold. Like, it takes a while for players to get from underneath that rock of the way the media and fans and everybody else view you. Like, if he'd have gone deeper into the playoffs, you got a different conversation about Sam Darnold and his free agency outlook because everything about that season would have been just reassured as far as him being a new player in this league and not just that a winner, not just that a team leader. And I think a lot of people inside of that building, in my personal opinion, with the Vikings and around the league, look at him and say, Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell is
Justin
what you say.
Jefferson, honestly.
And Justin Jefferson. Yeah, facts. And a run game. On top of that, you got to think that during the middle of the season, they ended up trading for Cam Robinson. Like they rarely had a lot of parameters around him to make him successful. And you got to ask yourself, if your team looking for a quarterback right now, one, it needs to be in a competitive place that Minnesota was at. And how much do you believe he can make your team, like the Titans, a really good franchise considering he had the Titans with the Jets, right? He's been in a Titans-like situation before, and he didn't look like this. So I think he honestly is cursed by Kevin O'Connell and that offense that he had in Minnesota more than anything. And also this side of it, too, there will be other options as far as free agency goes for the quarterbacks. Not just that. You got two guys in the draft that you can go get or just simply say, we'll wait till next year. Because a team like the Saints, they're not in a position to be paying for a guy like him. Atlanta has their guy. It's the wrong year for Sam Darnold to have had this type of season for himself. And the team isn't overly desperate at this point, too.
And I think someone will go out and give him money. I mean, he is the best free agent out there right now, right? If you look
Definitely
at all of them. At quarterback is what I mean. Yeah. So I think he is kind of in a good position in terms of at least getting the money he wants. Now, how he can be successful in another place, that's yet to be seen. Absolutely. Because I totally agree with you, Ramon. I think Kevin O'Connell had a lot to do with his success. I think he helps elevate quarterbacks, and some of the parts around them did. And let's not take away from how great their defense was, which, took a lot of pressure off as well.
It did. Sam Darnold's just, man, it sucks to be in the spot that he's in because, again, the outlook on what he could be for a team could be high. but you also running a risk of knowing a guy like him need a lot. And, of course, the experts that break down the tape is going to see way more than we do as far as his delivery, his decision-making, and how he commands the offense, too. So he, in my opinion, is a high-risk signing, if you're asking me. And the sorry teams that need quarterbacks got young ones.
Except this one.
Except for this.
I mean, they have Will Levis, but, you know.
Yeah.
But who
so
is
exactly.
Will Levis?
Don't have quarterback.
I heard his name be dropped a little bit yesterday on some of our teammate shows here at the station. And
Who,
honestly, Will Levis, I ain't going to lie to y'all. I forgot he was here.
I don't think the fans did, but I'm glad you did.
Because everything that we've talked about for the last 2 months going into the third has been Cam,
yes, who else?
Right. Justin Fields, and Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
I forgot he was here.
Well, Sam Darnold in his last 2 games last season, at Detroit in Week 17, at the LA Rams in Arizona in the first round of the playoffs, was 43 of 81 passing. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, over the 400-yard mark, but not by much. He lost a lot of money the last 2 weeks of the season, a lot of money. And for teams that need a veteran quarterback to take that next step and become contenders are going to be looking around saying, ugh, the guy I have, I can develop into something that can resemble something better than what he was at the playoffs. Titans don't have that luxury.
No.
Titans are just trying to get to the playoffs. So we'll talk more about that as the show continues. I want to get back into it at 7:20 this morning because it does feel like there are chairs that are being lifted up and the music's about to stop. And the Titans are starting to run out of quarterback options as guys like Justin Fields are slated to go back to where they were, as Matthew Stafford goes back to L.A., as Aaron Rodgers is the only one sitting there saying, I want you. No. So we'll talk about that coming up at 7:20 this morning. But speaking of quarterbacks, speaking of pressure in playoffs, there is a quarterback in Knoxville that played a playoff game this past season, Nico Iamaleava. Austin Price was on the show yesterday. I thought he made an interesting point as the Vols start spring practice Friday about the pressure level on Nico to not just be fine, but to win Tennessee games this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Nico's got to take a big step. I've got kind of a story coming out. It's kind of like 5 returning guys who need a big spring to help Tennessee have a big fall. And number one's Nico, because it's a quarterback-driven game. He has to take a big step this spring. He has to be someone who is a game changer, right? Like, did he lose Tennessee in games last year? No. Did he win them a bunch of games with individual play? I would tell you no. And so, he was really good for a redshirt freshman quarterback. Go look at the stats compared to all the other kids in his class or the class after him. He was really good a year ago. But he didn't go out and just dominate games and change the way the game, played. And I think that's where he has to take a big step this year is, he needs to be able to be a game changer, somebody who puts Tennessee on his back and leads them and propels them when maybe things aren't going perfect.
So that was Austin Price of the show yesterday, and he brings up an interesting point because in his class of quarterbacks last year, you have him, DJ Lagway, and Lenore Sellers, plus Arch Manning, who's going to come in with Heisman-level expectations this season. Where does Nico fit for you among those 4 quarterbacks, and how successful was the Nico Iamaleava experience as a redshirt freshman starter last year, in your opinion?
The experience to me was a starter as far as this is just phase 1 of what he's supposed to be doing. He played the back seat, played the game manager for the most part in games where against lesser competition. He showed, he shined, but it was also an offense last year that relied heavily upon the running game too. So you didn't have the need to go to him all the time the way South Carolina did with Lenore Sellers, or eventually how Florida ended up doing it with DJ Lagway. Nico's situation was, to me, is what you want in a college quarterback. You want him to grow up in that freshman year. The same way, honestly, Texas did with Arch, in a sense. Just let him dip his toe into it, except for, in my personal opinion, Nico played more games. So where does he sit with that group of 4? Considering the ones that have played, I think considering how much South Carolina relied upon Lenore Sellers, he probably has to be 1. Nico 2, Arch 3, because Arch wasn't a starter last year. has to be well. You ask me, where does he fit in that group? Not where I'm projecting him to be.
I need to
as
see
it
more,
stands right now,
games from
as
him.
he stands right now, Lenore Sellers, Nico, Arch, and then DJ, because DJ wasn't a starter. He spot played a little bit more than Arch did last year. Projections of all of them, Arch, Nico, Lenore, Arch, Nico, DJ, Lenore's. It's the way I see it.
Yeah, Lenore Sellers took over as the starter in that Tennessee game on October the 12th.
Yeah. I got Nico probably second still in that group, with Arch going up to number one in totality. DJ Lagway is the one that's everybody's treating like the boogeyman at Florida, though. His ability to be explosive screams Heisman candidate at some point. So I'm giving credit where credit due. And right now, Lenore Sellers is him as far as South Carolina goes, too.
Yeah, just when you look at the numbers, and I want to start with Nico Iamaleava. I'll get back to his class and comparing him to those guys. But overall, if you want to look at the bigger picture, too, just as a starter in his first full year, 19 touchdowns, which ranked 42nd out of quarterbacks in college football last year. Passing yards, you had mentioned, they incorporated a lot more of the run game.
It was heavy run.
Took away from the passing yards aspect of things. He had 2,616, which ranked 57th. With a completion rate of 63.8. So going back, though, to comparing him to these other quarterbacks in the SEC in his class, right now, I would definitely put Lenore Sellers at the top. And I just looking at what he did last year for South Carolina, there is no doubt in my mind he helped elevate that team. He had over 2,500 yards passing, around the same amount of touchdowns, 18, 7 interceptions, 69.8 quarterback rating. But I thought that he really grew throughout the season, too. But I'm going to put Nico right underneath that. Nico Iamaleava, for what he was utilized in the system last year, I think they started to also see he's really good when he runs the ball, too.
Yeah.
Like, he is athletic, and we saw some of those games when he did that a little bit more. He was more comfortable as well. It was all about, I think, him finding his comfortability last year. And I don't think his wide receivers helped him out at times. So I think Nico, though, overall, compared to all these other guys, I'm going to put him at second. Then I'm going to put DJ Lagway, guys. He just didn't play a lot of games, right? There were some bumps and bruises. When you look at his stats overall, too, he just threw for under 2,000.
They waited a while to go to him.
Yeah, so it wasn't like we saw a ton out of him. And then Arch Manning, obviously trajectory is high for this young man, but we just didn't see a ton of him in certain packages, in certain times where they were, fourth down situations, goal line situations. But other than that, I just need to see way more from Arch Manning because I don't want to just base things on a name.
So is this list how they performed last season or how you're projecting them moving forward?
This is kind of like what I see after one season. The only thing I see somebody skyrocketing is Arch Manning could maybe overtake, I think, maybe that second spot if he is what we think he's going to be. But I think Lenore Sellers, if he goes at this rate, and Nico could be that top quarterback.
The only pushback I have on Nico being higher or just being uprooted by the last two guys, in my opinion, is the offense.
You don't think it will change at all? Or the
I want to see it change. That's where I'm at with it, though. I want to see it change and look a little bit more pro style. Okay, if that happens,
I don't think that's going to happen, but I think it'll change.
It'll change. I'm hoping.
Sure.
To where they're not seen as much. I thought Ohio State exposed a good bit, and honestly, the latter part of the season they did at times too. Vanderbilt actually did well early against them, although Nico had one of his better games that game too. With that being said, Arch, Nico, Lagway, Sellers.
What makes you think Lagway over, what do you think, why do you think Sellers is going to take that big of a...
It's difference in programs to me, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's just, I think Florida has been recruiting like crazy. They have had players in the portal want to go play with DJ Lagway. Mm-hmm. And now you had a coach who was on an edge of being fired last year that actually had his job saved by DJ Lagway. I think what South Carolina issue is, they're going to have a hard time finding skilled guys that's going to want to come play in that for South Carolina. Not even in that system, for South Carolina, unless Lenore Sellers finds his way to be more dynamic. There's, like I said, That was people I know. I was hoping, what's his name? Napier got let
Billy
go.
Napier, yeah.
Yeah. In the sense that, look, you wanted DJ Lagway out of the SEC. Like, he's that type of good from what I'm understanding. So he could very well find himself as one of the top Heisman candidates. We have somebody, Michael, in the chat say, you talk about them like they're all Heisman candidates. This group of four.
They're really talented. I mean, they're all a little different, too.
It would not be shocking for any of them to win the Heisman.
It would not be shocking.
Lenora Sellers, maybe.
Yeah.
But South Carolina has got major trajectory right now.
Yeah, they do.
And all of these teams are expected to be top 20 teams. I think you guys are massively underselling Arch Manning.
Well, that's
massively.
but I feel like I have not, in my argument of that, I did not live down here when he was like, I mean, it's been a minute. He's been sitting in Texas for a minute. I've not been around
2 years.
I have not been around the hype as much as you guys have. I'm not from here.
That isn't.
I know the Manning thing is connected everything, and I know like the trajectory of him is high, but I'm a person who has to see it at the next level to truly believe that he is going to be that guy. There's nothing wrong with that.
We did see it though.
We saw it in bits and pieces.
Yeah, I mean, he completed
68.
He completed 68% of his passes for nearly 1,000 yards. He played in 10 games last year, and he was dynamic. I think Arch is the Heisman winner this year.
I put him at one on my last
I am
list.
buying all of the Arch Manning stock, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm out of control with it
for a second.
But I think we saw enough to understand, like, oh no, this guy's a little bit different. Yeah. And Texas, I mean, is bringing back. I know that they're going to have some changes at wide receiver. No Isaiah Bond, no Matthew Golden, but Texas is stockpiling an elite amount of talent around him. What I think is tricky is, people are kind of discounting what Nico Iamaleava did last season for the exact reason of what Austin Price said. I think, people remember the way the Ohio State game went as the lasting impression of what he was, which is unfair because Ohio State did that to Dylan Gabriel, who's played 80,000 college football games. And B, for the exact reason Austin said, he didn't really win Tennessee any games last year. He will be expected to this year.
He has to.
He needs to be now. It's kind of like in the NFL when you pay your veteran quarterback, and now you've got to make do with some lesser talented players around him. Like, there's no salary cap. There's no cap to what Tennessee can pay everyone else around Nico. But let's be honest. The reports are what they are with Nico Iamaleava, which means that if you're paying him that, you need him to raise the level of some maybe more lowly paid wide receivers around him. And that's an overly simplistic view of it. I get that. But it is up to him to make Mike Matthews a star. It is up to him to make these offensive linemen, David Sanders and Lance Hurd, look better and just make some crazy plays, because he was, according to On3, more highly touted than Arch Manning coming out of high school. It's going to be a really interesting season for him. Really, really interesting season for him.
It is. And to your point, though, about the wide receivers, one of the 7 scholarship players that they have right now, brand new offensive line, like, I was looking at my list of quarterbacks I play with at Tennessee also, and like, he has to take that big sophomore jump or second year jump because Schaefer
and leadership wise too.
Because Eric Ainge went through that in that second year as well. We got Rick Clausen. Yeah. Ainge took a step back in his second year, and you need to see Nico take that leadership, that calmness, that ability to elevate everybody around him, specifically on offense, man. Because, again, the defense was very led last year. This one has to switch roles big time, and it starts with the quarterback.
We got one comment from Nick on Facebook Live that said, Pavia is going to make you change that list. Well, we're talking about the younger guys.
The younger guys, because somebody said Nussmeier, too.
And Nussmeier will absolutely – Nussmeier, I think, is the –
he's a Heisman favorite.
I think so.
That's crazy to me.
So.
That is insane.
Yep.
So if you needed a quarterback in the draft, I mean, you're too early right now if you're the Titans.
We say that a lot.
Yeah.
But,
you really feel it with this one.
I mean, if I could draft Arch Manning today, I might do it at number 1.
You got 5 guys
are ridiculous.
in college right now you want.
He is that good. He is special.
I want to see him play a whole season.
I think he is. I think he's like
that.
That's
fine.
I think he's like
play
that.
A whole season.
615-737-1045. The college hoops was very good last night.
If you're not Auburn.
And we'll talk about that next.
When couples walk into Genesis Diamonds, their eyes get so big. It's a mind-blowing display of sparkling jewelry with literally thousands of choices when it comes to engagement rings. All the styles she's seen online are right there. But the experts at Genesis make them feel totally at ease. They're offered a beverage. They're asked a lot of questions about their taste and style. They're given a no-holds-barred education, and they're even told the secrets of the jewelry business while they're there. The consultants at Genesis are not on commission. They are not retail cloaks, and they are not transaction-focused. They can spend 30 minutes with you, or they can spend 3 hours with you. It doesn't matter. You can see dozens and dozens of diamonds in an array of sizes, shapes, and color grades. You can see handcrafted rings from all the top designers that other stores are not even allowed to carry. You can see the difference between a diamond that is properly cut and one you might see at one of those online places. The differences will blow you away. Bottom line, Genesis will take away all the risk, all the mystery, all the confusion, and help you make that decision you will be confident in for years to come. Genesis Diamonds, a true direct importer with rock bottom prices and a luxury experience. No compromises. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone. We are brewed up by Scooter's Coffee. Wrapping up hour number one. 615-737-1045 is our number. We're going to talk Titans QB options in hour two. And also read some new reporting from ESPN's Teron Davenport about the number one overall pick. Some interesting nuggets that we will get you coming up here to begin hour two, coming up in 15 minutes. Fun night of hoops last night. By the way, whoever decided that a 9 p.m. Central Time tip-off should happen in Memorial Gym last night needs to be put in prison and jail. Not just prison, not just jail. Prison and jail. It was crazy.
Even 8 o'clock is crazy in my eyes. On a Tuesday, I'm like, I ain't staying up that late.
9 Central. I've never seen that in the SEC before.
Never. And again, that's 10 Eastern at that point.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately, that's way too late. That's way too late.
I want to help me understand. Was a sleepy game for Vanderbilt, though. They fall 90-77 last night to John Calipari in Arkansas, who really had to have this. If Arkansas loses that game, they'd pretty much have to win the SEC tournament to make the NCAA tournament. This is a classic Calipari team. It's unbelievable just how much they have gotten better. They've started to turn things around. I still think it's probably a little too late, but tough one last night for Vanderbilt, a 13-point win as Arkansas gets their 7th win in conference play.
And Ron thinks Arkansas can still make it in just off the merit of Cal. Cal is one of the main reasons they make that in. But Vanderbilt can't allow that one to slip right there, man. They're too good of a team. They're too up-tempo for them to be dropping a game like that to Arkansas, who's been, sputtering throughout the course of this year. Memorial Magic, man, went down. Maybe it was a late start, though, too, Will. Yes. I mean, that's a long day full of class, full of walking around on campus.
Class? Come on,
that's a 9 o'clock tip-off.
They ain't going to class.
They ain't going to class? The athletes or the students?
All of the above. Professors want to do all these professors want to do online classes now. Like, honestly.
Do they really?
Then why are they paying that much money? When you talk
to, they're not. They're on full ride scholarships. But,
no, I'm just talking about students.
Well, yeah, I have no clue, to be honest with you.
It's ridiculous.
I agree. But no, I mean, it's crazy. Like, so many of these students just don't go in classrooms anymore. Since COVID, like, professors are like, oh, I could do all this online. Bet.
Let me get
it's
away
like,
with
okay,
it.
then cut my tuition in half. Bet.
Oh, no. Once they raise it, they never going up. They never going back down. That's usually how it goes.
Like, give me that online crap. But here's the thing about Vanderbilt.
Are you in classes right now or something?
No, but I'm saying if I was, I'd be pissed. If I'm paying that much money and I'm doing it online. Like, I don't know. It just takes away from what college is then. I mean, I could go on a whole different tangent about that.
Yeah, I might want to hear that one day.
You bet. Absolutely. When it comes to Vanderbilt, though, in terms of, I just think they've had games where they had to get those games and they're kind of letdowns. And especially when you're at home this year and you have been really good at home and you have that, like you mentioned, Memorial Magic, and then you let those slip, especially towards the end of the season. I think that's where you look at Vanderbilt. I'm trying to look at their recent, like they won three straight, guys. And this is the thing. They won against some really good teams.
Upset recently against Missouri.
I mean, they had Ole Miss when I think they were still ranked, Texas A&M, which was a huge 2-point win, and Missouri. And then you go and have the flub. That's when you know a team is still growing. They're not there yet. When you can't kind of keep that momentum at the end of the year, when you had Arkansas and Georgia left on your schedule. So, yeah, bummer for Vanderbilt. Still a good team, but you just can't lose those ones, especially at home.
It is the name of the game when you play the style that they do. They're going to win some games they're not supposed to. They're going to lose some they're not supposed to. Mark Byington, I still think Richard Hendricks said yesterday, he's 100% right. If it wasn't for Bruce Pearl and Auburn having a historically good regular season and a historically challenging SEC, Mark Byington is your SEC Coach of the Year like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him and Vanderbilt, the 10th time was Bruce Pearl just having a generational season, honestly.
Like that, man.
At Auburn this year. But not last night. Texas A&M upsetting Auburn. First win for A&M since the day after Valentine's Day.
Whew.
Comes against number 1.
They needed that one.
Makes so much sense. It's just crazy the way this conference has been. And the second you think a team is down for the count and they lose by 16 to Mississippi State, they lose by 8 at home to Tennessee, they lose by 2 at home to Vanderbilt, they lose by 19 over the weekend with Ron Slay courtside against Florida, And then they beat Auburn by 11 at home.
Yeah, whether Auburn was packing in because they got the regular season or not, they needed to understand what winning is again. A&M has gone through it as of late, man, and they got some good players on their team. Wade Taylor leads them undeniably. Their leader on that squad, too, and they got a real good coach, too. So for them to be falling off the way they have as of late on a losing streak, that's just not the expectation of them.
They had lost 4 straight, by the way.
Yeah, big-time games, SEC
4
games.
straight, yeah. I'm like, it's.
I just went through them.
And you're looking at it, and you're just like, how is this the case? And first of all, they're still a ranked team, too. That just goes to show the depth of the SEC and what the competition means week in and week out. And guys, it's crazy when you look at this game too. I know Bruce Pearl said after the game, they completely physically dominated us in this game in terms of Texas A&M. And Jahmai Broome, by the way, only scored 8 points in this game.
He banged up his shoulder and had to leave the game.
Yeah, so that was not in favor of Auburn in any case whatsoever. But it's not like they shot the hell out of the ball or anything in terms of A&M. I think their shooting percentage was like, 43 or something from the field?
A&M. Yeah, they just outplayed them.
But they out-rebounded Auburn. I mean, they dominated on the boards last night. So.
You guys see what else A&M did last night?
No.
Say what?
What?
They retired Wade Taylor's jersey.
Did
Really?
they?
In his senior day.
Good for him.
Joins AC Law as the only other player with his jersey retired. It's not officially in the rafters yet due to A&M policy, but that's interesting.
That's about right.
That is interesting.
I mean, he's been
there since Bill Clinton was in office.
Like,
him and John Fulkerson started playing SEC basketball in the mid-'80s. So
put it up in the rafters, man.
Whatever, you gotta
He's
have
been that
people
guy, though,
represent.
for them for a while. And, I mean, when you have an impact the way he does on that squad and on that campus, too, that's kind of premature, but, I mean, you might as well at that point. Ain't no telling. That might have been a part of his NIL at this point.
So they sent his jersey to the rafters. It is not officially retired due to A&M's athletic policy, but he joins AC Law as the only Aggies to have their jerseys in the rafters.
Wow. That's big time.
I mean,
Very
what
cool.
a day.
They're going to be an interesting matchup for someone because they are so physical, A&M is. And they offensive rebound so well, and Tennessee was able to kind of neutralize that because they are also so good on the glass. But, like, they are going to be a nightmare for somebody who is guard-centered and just can't get other, like, second opportunities because they can't prolong possessions because A&M just doesn't allow you second chances a lot, and they give themselves a lot of second chances that they're going to bully somebody and go on a run if they get the right draw in the NCAA tournament. They are a really, really interesting team for me.
And I think
going forward into March.
That was a good game for it all kind of the pieces fell into place for them because you lost 4 straight. You're a much better team than lose 4 straight. And then you had Auburn at home, or you had, Auburn on the road. And so Auburn was there.
Yeah, it was in
what I'm saying? So it had to happen. Something had to break at some point. It was just a really good team to get that confidence back against.
Coming up, new reporting from ESPN's Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler on what the Titans are thinking with the number 1 overall pick. Coming up next.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, or gaining weight or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out. At LOT Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test, and with their on-site lab, you get your results back right there. LOT Center is also not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at LOT Center have over a decade of experience helping patients, and super important, their personal treatment plans are optimized for each patient. These aren't just basic standard treatments. No, not at all. And for current patients, too, if you're going already, LOT Center is offering you a $150 referral credit for each new patient that you refer. LOT Center also can get your health evaluated with treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So they cover all bases here, man. So get back to your best. Go to LOTcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's LOTcenter.com. LOT Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. It is 7:01. I'm Will Bowling. A big upset in college hoops last night as top-ranked Auburn goes down 83-72 to 22nd-ranked Texas A&M. Zurich Phelps leads the way with 19 points for the Aggies, and A&M's first ever win over a team ranked number 1 in the AP Top 25 poll. It ends a 6-game winning streak for Auburn, who clinched the SEC title with a win over Kentucky on Saturday. It's the first win, meanwhile, for the Aggies since February the 15th against Arkansas. Speaking of Arkansas, they get the win 90-77 down the road in West End last night over Vanderbilt. Late night, while many of you were asleep, Janelle Davis scored 21 points. Trevon Brazile had his first double-double of the season as Arkansas shoots 51% for the field inside Memorial Gym and limits Vanderbilt to 38% shooting from the floor. There is a new highest-paid running back in NFL history. Yesterday, the news coming out that the Eagles are awarding Saquon Barkley for his historic season with a 2-year, $41.2 million contract extension. And on ice, the Predators last night beat the Boston Bruins 6-3 as Nashville finishes its 3-game Northeast road trip with a win. Steven Stamkos recorded his 600th career assist, and Ryan O'Reilly scored twice in the victory. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. $7 a.m. in Nashville as the second hour begins on RKW. We are brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. 615-737-1045 is the number with a full crew here. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins is our producer. And we stream the program live on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You get in the comments section, and that is where you join the F&M Bank chat. ESPN.com this morning has a news story from Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler. I would say both friends of the show.
Yeah,
we can comfortably say that. We love both Teron and Jeremy. How the league views the Titans' choices at number 1. They say Titans' plan for the number 1 pick was a frequent talking point inside the halls of the Indiana Convention Center as execs, scouts, and coaches bustled from adjacent Lucas Oil Stadium to various meetings as a part of the Combine. A few themes emerged. First and foremost, Cam Ward is the consensus number 1 quarterback in the draft by a comfortable margin, according to some. But Shedeur Sanders' pocket passing ability as a deft processor is appreciated and will make for an easy NFL transition. Thus, he becomes a slightly better fit for a Brian Callahan offense in Tennessee, according to multiple scouts. Interesting. Confirms, I think, what we had discussed, but confirmation for people in the league of what we believed. Those same people believe the Titans' 3 primary options, guys, will be Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and trading out of the top spot. The majority of league personnel surveyed by ESPN believe Tennessee prefers to trade out. There you go.
Yeah.
Tennessee prefers to trade out, according to Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler. The final bullet point in this, questions abound about how eager teams will be to trade at number 1. The Giants at 3, the Jets at 7 are among teams that have interest in moving up, according to Dan Graziano. But some around the league question whether the talent in this draft necessitates a move, due largely to the lack of top-end quarterback prospects. More info in this that we can dive into, guys. Yeah. But first and foremost, what stands out, and what do you think about that?
The fact that most of the league know that the Titans are willing to trade out of it. I think that's the biggest part, that they're willing to pass on a quarterback if it means they get more draft picks as it pertains to the totality of it, of building his team back. Later in this article, too, it also has a quote from Borgonzi where he says if someone's trading up for a quarterback, which is why I'm let me stop real quick. What I'm hoping is that the front office and people that are making this move right here understand the weight of this move to back out of it to allow somebody else to take a quarterback. And I think there's understanding from Morganzi because his quote says this: if someone's trading up for a quarterback, that means there's a lot of value in it. It could be another position as well. Anytime you trade out a number one pick, you expect a big return. That right there gives me hope. If they are going to be in a position to trade out of it and somebody want to. You can't be too over-aggressive with that, though, in the approach that, hey, you price yourself out of it. But the idea that you know you're going to be very adamant about getting a return, that excites me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a ton of new things here that we learned. I think this has been really what we've talked about day in and day out is, besides, I think, maybe the quarterback separation, I think now a lot of people are separating Cam Ward from Shedeur Sanders in terms of the number one quarterback, no doubt about it. And, of course, everyone's going to have their opinions on that. But I think league-wise, we're starting to hear Cam Ward separate himself, even with teams that want to trade up. The one thing that's interesting about that is Teron Davenport reporting that the scenario is likely they'd stick and pick Cam Ward or stick and pick Abdul Carter or trade back. And we spoke about this yesterday. Would you feel that you needed to stick at number one if you were going to take Abdul Carter? I don't necessarily think you do. So in that case, I'd say if they don't want Cam Ward, which that is their decision on whether or not they think he'd be a good fit at this point, or they could surround him with the right people, or if he's just not the quarterback for them, I say the only thing you'd need to do at that point then is trade back, because I think you could still probably get Abdul Carter. And worst thing comes to worse, you get a guy like Travis Hunter. So I don't even think sticking and picking at number one. I think you have to, at this point, take Cam Ward.
So more in this to react to, because there is way more info than just what we've already read as well from Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler, who say Sam Darnold is considered the top free agent, could command a contract more than $30 million per year. Among the available options, again, we've got Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Says the Titans have not declared their intentions on which veteran they prefer, but they are expected to sign one, which could have implications for last year's starting QB. One veteran NFL personnel source tells them Will Levis could be the odd man out. I think they are tired of the back-breaking turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
It does make sense.
Despite what we've heard publicly, I don't think that has any implications on whether or not Will Levis will be here next year. I think in a perfect world, if they had somebody who's offering something tangible for Levis, they'd get rid of him.
And that's what's wild, you guys, is like we might not even have Will Levis in the quarterback room, which I'm sure people will be thrilled about. But I'm just saying in terms of the quarterbacks, like who are the quarterbacks this year for this team? And you look at free agency and yeah, there's options right now, but those options we mentioned earlier in the show, like they're starting to decrease because you're hearing them be attached to different teams at this point. And I just think this meeting with Cam Ward that's coming up on, I believe it's Friday is what it was reported as, is so huge. I think we're going to definitely start to see if they are completely like going a different direction, if it's all just trade back at this point, or if they really think, you know, we got to get Cam Ward as one of those guys in that quarterback room, then we can see if we can get a year bridge quarterback as well. But you guys, if they don't decide to go with Cam Ward and they're just not going to have Will Levis in there too, like, okay, who's our quarterback here this next season?
Yeah, Will Levis is at this point.
And I'm saying, I mean, he might not even be here.
Well, I think the plan is probably going to be not to have him here, especially if you end up taking a rookie. Now, Sam Darnold being here, maybe it'll be a different conversation if they go free agency. Like, there is a pathway to where Will Levis understands, well, I'm not him. But if Will Levis is in a position with a young guy, it's going to be a little weird. That's the way I'm viewing this and moving forward. And it's not our position to make it be okay that it is weird. They got to make the right moves for this team moving forward. And it does come down to over these next 10 days before free agency opens up. Cam Ward could blow them away this upcoming weekend. Or they could realize he's not the guy for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to completely take Shedeur Sanders out of the equation. He's still a quarterback. I know he's not the favorite, but he is meeting with the Titans as well in a top 30 visit. So he's not the 1, 2, or 3, but he is still in the mix.
As you continue to read this article, I think we did learn a lot. because then there's this nugget. The Titans brass believed Cam Ward checked all of the boxes during their meeting at the Combine and seemed like a fit for the Titans if he were the pick. Like Patrick Mahomes with Mike Berganzi, and Tehran and Jeremy write about that background, says there are questions about Ward's gunslinger approach and tendency to play out of structure. But Ward appears to have a higher ceiling than Sanders, and he won over Titans coaches in Indianapolis. The Titans could sign a veteran quarterback and still draft Ward or Sanders. Word for word, I'm quoting, Tennessee will have some interest if Sam Darnold hits free agency, but that's only at the right price in the $30 million per year range, according to a team source. So what we learned from this, Cam Ward won over the Titans coaching staff in Indianapolis, and the Titans for the right price will be in for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still cool with drafting a quarterback, and I don't know bringing Sam Darnold in. I don't think
quarterback
that will,
the quarterback
or Cam Ward.
Cam Ward. I mean, that's been my number one guy from the start. But I would also be okay with bringing in not Sam Darnold, because you're going to then have to pay him, and he's going to be on a longer contract. That's a multi-year deal. But I'm okay with bringing in a bridge quarterback for a year as well.
At $30 million, I'm okay with having them both. I'm going to be completely honest with you, especially if there's an out on Sam Darnold's contract.
That's got to be, that's got to be in there.
If the market says to Sam Darnold, you're only a 2-year commitment, I'll do a 1 and have an out going into 2026.
And remember, he's got to sign here too. Like, he's got to say, is this the best situation for me?
Well, Sam Darnold's going to go. To me, it's got to be an open spot. The Titans have that, and the money's got to be appropriate too. It's way more than he was making in any point of his career at this point. And I think you can utilize him as a guy that let a young quarterback, whether it be Cam Ward or anybody else, learn behind him too.
Curtis asks on YouTube, why would Darnold want to come here? 2 words: guaranteed money.
Yeah. Don't overcomplicate this, y'all.
Guaranteed money. So, also on ESPN.com this morning, projections on where NFL free agents go and what deals they would get. And they have got, Ryan McFadden has an offer for the Raiders for Sam Darnold of 3 years, $125 million with $55 guaranteed. Tehran Davenport at ESPN.com have a Titans offer for 3 years, $120 million and $85 million guaranteed. Dan Graziano says the decision would be Darnold goes to the Titans.
Yeah, I would take that easily.
It feels like Sam Darnold to Titans buzz is growing a little bit.
And then I think they're not going to draft a quarterback.
They still could.
I don't think they will, though.
Why?
Because I do think when you tie yourself to a quarterback projected to have that type of a deal and be like, you're telling him you're going to be our starter for at least the next 3 years.
Well,
and I don't know, maybe they fall completely in love with Cam Ward and you're like, you know what, worst comes to worst, we're going to just have to, part ways with Sam Darnold at some point, like you mentioned. But I don't know. It's hard for me because Sam Darnold is a longer linking quarterback.
So a 3-year deal pretty much means you're the starter for 2 years.
Yeah, and maybe they're okay with sitting, but if you take Cam at number 1, it's hard to see him sit for 2 years.
It ain't. You know why? Borgonzi's done this before.
Not that long.
Not
now.
at number 1, though.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes wasn't the number 1
okay,
overall pick.
so
And I do agree with you that I don't think it's out of the question, but I do think that's different than drafting Mahomes at 10 and having him sit for 1 year.
They're number 1 quarterbacks with a lot of talent. And here's the thing that you want. You want that edge that they think Cam Ward has, and that drive and that push and that professionalism to be a part of this process too. Because here's the way I'm looking at it. We've said that these quarterbacks are good, but they're not there yet. Why would we in any situation try to force it to be there, especially when you don't really have a big plethora of wide receiver, no skill, no line, no anything? Put Sam Darnold behind the gun and let him figure it out and let the young fella grow. In my perfect world, if you choose both.
It's really interesting, and we'll get more context and more insight into this when we come back, because it is a good transition into our next conversation, ranking the worst to best options for the Titans at quarterback moving forward into next season. Again, the report from Tehran Davenport and Jeremy Fowler is that Cam Ward won over the Titans in Indianapolis, and the Titans will have some interest in Sam Darnold if he hits free agency. We'll react more to that coming up next. Hey, it's Will Bowling here in Middle Tennessee. The only thing that is predictable about the weather is that it's unpredictable. Make sure your home is ready for the next storm or heat wave with the Lee Company Home Maintenance Plan. You can sign up today, and for $12 a month, their expert technicians will come out 4 times a year to take care of your air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and electrical systems. That's right, air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and electrical by one professional team. Hey, we have got the perfect example in the last couple of weeks. We've had all 4 seasons, it feels like, in the last 2 weeks here in Middle Tennessee. Lee Company can make sure you are always ahead of Mother Nature for just $12 a month, taking care of that AC unit, the heating, the plumbing, the electrical systems. That's 615-567-1000. Their website is great. You can head online to leecompany.com to learn more and schedule an appointment there. 615-567-1000. That's Lee Company. All you need. RKW on 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. We've got the Caramelicious blend going this morning. It is phenomenal. 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Again, if you missed it, great article at ESPN.com with a ton of nuggets. There is a lot of new information in here from Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. The most interesting of which, to me, guys, says that Titans brass believed Cam Ward checked all the boxes during their meeting at the NFL Combine and seemed like a fit for the Titans. He won over Titans coaches in Indy. Tennessee will have some interest if Darnold hits free agency. I still think it's smart to put out there that you have interest in Cam Ward. Even if you would rather trade out, it gives you options and drives up the price for that number one pick because the Giants don't have any incentive to pay you much if they believe you're not really interested in the quarterback that's there to be taken.
Oh, that's the biggest thing. We've been preaching this the whole time. You've got to sell the quarterback no matter what.
Totally.
Like that you want them because that will make other teams be like, well, if they feel like they want him that much, well, we want him even more. And you're right. The Giants are the perfect team for that. I just feel like you've used the word desperate when describing the Giants. You want to make them feel as desperate as they can feel if you want to get the most out of that trade.
And the biggest thing for them is they don't have any other answers either. Like they do, but it's not the ones that they want. And listen to John Mara speak a time or two over this past offseason because I can't see the other New York team going to try and sign the best quarterback in quarterback free agency and Sam Darnold. So that's where, to me, they're handcuffed, where you can play the game with them. Like you said, in my personal opinion, you could get both. Especially if you're not trading out a number one. You get somebody that you hope makes you competitive this year, and Sam Darnold and a guy in Cam Ward that you can play in the future for.
Something I want to ask you guys. How much does the price for the number one pick fall if you sign Sam Darnold first?
How much does it fall?
I think it does fall.
Because then what's to say the Giants are being like, well, I'm not going to give you two firsts. You already have a quarterback. You don't need another one.
I think that hurts your if this is your plan to sell, you are going to pick Cam Ward. I think that drastically hurts your position to get as much as you can out of that trade. 100%.
So in that case, like they need, if they're going to trade the pick, they got to do it before the new league year begins in a week and before legal tampering starts. Because they're going to have to move quickly on Darnold if they want him, the same way the Falcons moved quickly on Cousins last year.
Hands down.
And, I mean, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are coming to town this weekend.
They are coming in town
Friday and
weekend.
Sunday, right?
Deals
that's correct.
Couldn't be set before the end of the week, too, as far as Sam Darnold and everybody else. Like, I do know. Going through this process, most of the money that you want is going to end up being in those first two offers that you send back. Right? And that's where you are with Sam Darnold. Like right now, he and his agent, I know they're lying about it being tampering, no tampering, but there is. They know where their market is going to be. And the teams that are somewhat serious too. TD isn't just getting this, he's not just pulling this out of there. Him or Graziano or Fowler or anybody else. Somebody's talking. I personally don't think the price goes down because the Giants are that desperate also.
Sure.
Because if you clean the market up on Sam Darnold and you also still hold the number one overall pick and getting Cam Ward too, honestly, I think the price stays.
So also in this article, Teron and Jeremy say what the price from the Giants would likely be. I'm just telling you guys, Titans fans, you got to set realistic expectations. We got roasted for giving this option last week, and now people around the league are saying it's what's probably most likely to happen. Future second and an early day 3 pick. That is what they said. Multiple evaluators believed a package of picks, say a future second rounder and an early day 3 pick, might be enough for a team such as the Giants to move from 3 to 1.
Can I ask you real quick? I was confused. Early day 3 pick this year?
I would assume so.
Okay.
Probably.
And then next year, obviously
A future second and
so probably a third rounder somewhere in there.
And that's still day 2.
The selection, to me, the selection of quarterbacks that you have the option to get isn't what's devaluing this trade from 3 to 1 or 6 to 1. 6 to 1 would be more expensive, for sure. If you're talking about the...
that would be the Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
The
Raiders.
Jets at 7 would
Jets.
be... You get multiple
You get
ones.
more there.
100%.
But if that's not a third rounder, sorry, no deal.
What's devaluing it to me is the fact that everybody knows the Titans need more picks.
Right.
They said it. More than the quarterbacks or free agent quarterbacks,
And it's
in my opinion.
You can go get Abdul Carter at 3 because the Browns are taking a quarterback.
Yeah.
All this talk about Shedeur Sanders falling into the first round. If Cam Ward goes 1, I think Shedeur Sanders is going 2.
Yeah.
It could easily
meeting
happen
with
that
him
way.
this week,
100%.
Again, there's a lot of lying that happens. And teams put out bad information all the time,
you can't
too.
trust anybody right now.
I just think this idea that the Titans are going to get future firsts isn't realistic. And this article says teams picking high might be hesitant to part with a future first rounder, given that those teams aren't slam dunks to be in contention a year from now and might hold on to prime positioning for the 2026 draft. This is where, and again, we do this every year, but I think there's some truth to it. This is where the league holding a high regard for 2026 quarterbacks is hurting you. This is where the idea of a Manning and a jersey sold to a lot of NFL franchises is really going to tempt teams to not give up a future first. And that stinks for the Titans.
It does.
You really picked a bad year to have the number 1 overall
And
pick.
that's why I think you just go get your quarterback.
It's just a dangerous way to think, because what if it's like 2013 and E.J. Manuel is the equivalent of Cam Ward?
But there's always that risk.
I don't think to this
when
level.
it comes to that.
Not to this level. Not this early. E.J. Manuel was picked in the teams. That's the difference right there. Like, I know what you're saying and wanting Cam Ward to be here.
There is always
and go
risk,
get your
100%.
man.
It's not about just Cam Ward
you want
either.
him to, but you're saying that in the sense of like you want him to just pick the quarterback because they're picking number 1 overall. This
No.
isn't an answer as far as building up a team
I'm
over the
saying
lifetime
because they
of
don't
it.
have any
Because
option at
the number
quarterback
1
right
overall
now.
pick sucks
There's
as far as if he does fail.
There is no option at quarterback right now for this team.
There
Who's
is
their
in free
quarterback?
agency.
You
That's
don't
what we're
know
about to
that.
get
There is in
into.
free agency
You
or
don't know what
moving
the
back.
realistic
We know what
opportunities
Sam
are,
Darnold
though.
brings to the table more than we do Cam
Pick
Ward.
Cam Ward and bring in
I would if he has the opportunity to grow.
So what's the argument here?
My argument is this. You go get a free agency quarterback, and if you don't believe Cam Ward is ready at number 1, you let him grow. You do the exact same
That's
thing
what
we've
I
been
just
preaching
said.
all along. No, you didn't just say that. You said take your man at number 1 overall.
Yeah,
and
the
without
quarterback.
the understanding that you were taking Sam Darnold. My
No,
point is
I said
this.
bring in a bridge quarterback,
Get a guy.
Cam Ward, and it's the same thing except for Sam Darnold would be signing a longer deal,
But you don't want Cam to sit.
assuming that, yeah, I do. I just said I'm okay. Go look at the chat. I
You
just said
said-
I'm fine with drafting Cam Ward, letting him sit for at least I'm okay with a year.
You don't want
But
him
I don't
behind
want him-
Darnold for more. But you can't have Darnold more than
Darnold
1 year.
is going to, if he comes here, he's going to sign a multi-year deal.
Yes.
He's going to be expected to be the starter for more than a year.
Yes.
So I don't think he would even, if he's given money somewhere else where other quarterbacks or other teams are needing quarterbacks, and he has a better opportunity because they know they're not going to take a quarterback number 1 overall, then he would probably sign there opposed to the Tennessee Titans. If Sam Darnold came here and he signed it and he's willing to maybe be sat after year 1, I'm fine with that. I just think it's probably more realistic that they bring in a bridge quarterback. They sit a year in terms of Cam Ward, maybe half a year, and then that quarterback's gone. And Cam Ward's your guy.
It wouldn't hurt Cam Ward, in my opinion, to be picked number 1 overall and still, in my opinion, sit for 2 years.
Yeah, I just think 2 years
with the
is
plan of
too
that.
long for being a number 1 overall pick to sit. I think there will be pressure from ownership. Like, you took him number 1 overall as our quarterback. Why is he sitting for 2 full years?
Because
it's
he has
happened
to
with
grow.
lower. But that can happen. I think a year's a good enough amount of time for a quarterback that's taken number 1 overall to grow.
But when you look at this situation, you got to say to yourself, the Titans are in a desperation mode as far as wins, as far as the head coach, and as far as making sure they get this pick correct in general. I'm not opposed to some, because, look, if they pick at number 1, that means you have no other options in the draft. You go from pick 1 to 33 or 32, whichever one they have, or 34, and then you don't have another one until you get into the hundreds. So drafting the number 1 overall quarterback and expecting him to be the guy, not just in year 1, but in year 2 also, is probably not realistic. The bridge guy that you're bringing in, if you want to win right now, as far as the talent from what Sam Darnold has done, albeit I think the ceiling is lower. You have a guy that can
arguing
operate.
2 different points here, though.
The guy that you bring in can operate this team and help build it up over time to where when you want to start Cam Ward or the quarterback they choose to pick is more ready then, because what we're realizing now is this. These quarterbacks are not as ready as you need them to be coming out of college. And the idea of them sitting isn't a bad thing, specifically for a team that has so many holes to fill. when it comes down to it. So you allow them to stack up through free agency, have a quarterback in waiting ready to go, and when it's his time, you let him. Again, you're going to set up a contract however you want to.
I don't think we're in year one saying,
you got to let me finish. We're in year one. We're in year one watching what's happening in Atlanta right now with Kirk Cousins. It's easy to let go of a guy.
I guess I'm just confused on what you're arguing, in all honesty, because I think we're both saying if you stick at number one, you should just take your quarterback. I don't know what we're arguing, really. I think the only thing we're arguing is
the length.
Yeah, I don't think he should sit for more than 2 years if you're picking him number one overall. That's all I'm saying. I'm good at a year max, and that's why I say bring in a year bridge quarterback. That's my argument, period.
So we had the plan to rank the worst to best quarterback options for the Titans. We have talked about Darnold already this morning. Talked a little bit about Cam Ward. I've got the realistic options for the Titans at quarterback because it feels like the game of musical chairs is starting to have chairs be picked up and music stop for some teams. I don't have Justin Fields on this list because the reporting is that he's likely going back to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. I do not have, obviously, Matthew Stafford on this list. I don't have Derek Carr on this list. So this is a new exercise considering a lot of the guys that we all really wanted as veteran options are no longer really realistic for you. So I've got 7 names on this list, including Cam Ward. I have Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, Cam Ward, Aaron Rodgers, Will Levis, Daniel Jones, and Russell Wilson. So I have tasked us with ranking. We don't have much time, so we'll try to do this over a couple conversations of the worst to the best options, because it feels like the arithmetic is a little bit different now. Out of those 7 names, and again, let's say for the sake of argument, this is the quarterback that would start most of their 2025 season.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could still obviously do 2 of these. You could sign Russell Wilson and draft Cam Ward. But let's say for the conversation, this is your top choice for the guy who's going to take the most snaps at quarterback if healthy for 2025. What is the bottom of your list? Out of those 7 names, what's the worst option?
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Really?
We can agree on that, Ramon.
We agree on that.
We agree on that one.
So Buck, I know, said yesterday that of the reclamation projects, he felt like Zach Wilson has the best chance to be successful next season because he was a number 2 overall pick and the talent is still there. And we've seen how easy it is to be successful once you leave the Jets. And he had a year with Sean Payton last year. That was Buck's full argument yesterday. It caught my attention because it's not what I expected, but I don't think it's stupid. He is not my last option. My last option is Will Levis. My last option is Will Levis. I have no interest in watching Will Levis play quarterback for the Tennessee Titans anymore.
I'll just put him a step above Zach Wilson more than anything.
He's right. Yeah, it's Zach Wilson, then Will Levis.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I got Zach Wilson.
Why the lack of belief in Zach Wilson?
Why the lack of it? Because he was so incompetent in New York. I honestly look at him as a bigger bust than Will Levis was. It was the expectation of what he was supposed to do versus what happened in New York.
Yeah, and I also think
for me, honestly, it's the optics of it, Will.
Right, and he got the opportunity to actually then have another chance when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. There was all this stuff about how he grew under Aaron Rodgers in training camp and was learning a lot and all this stuff. And then he got the opportunity to then go out again and be the starter, and he failed again. And I just think, like, at least right now in the Titans situation, they can't afford to make him a starter. Like, what has he proven?
He was 4-7 as a starter in 11 games in 2023, 8 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, a QB rating of 77.2, which is not good, and over 2,200 yards. Look, I think the talent is still there. I think he has more raw talent than Will Levis does. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been a number 2 overall pick. Mm-hmm. I know all classes aren't created equally, but still, I am intrigued. I'm intrigued. Again, far from number 1 on my list.
Yeah.
However, when you take Justin Fields and Derek Carr and Matthew Stafford out of the equation, these are the names we have to now consider.
Yep.
The musical chairs are starting to end a little bit.
You didn't put Trey Lance on here.
No, I did not. Do you want to put Trey Lance on here?
I put him over Zach Wilson, and I ain't even seen. That's the sight unseen with him. That's all it is.
Yeah, and
I've seen him be bad. I've seen him just be injured.
But this is for if you would say would start this year. This is who
for 2025,
right?
I don't see Trey Lance being as good of a fit for what Brian Callahan wants in a quarterback.
I feel that.
Number 6 on your list is whom?
Russell Wilson.
Yep, that's mine too.
Yeah.
Really? He's number 2 on mine.
Very specific
Russell
offense
Wilson.
that he has to run. Very specific offense. Holds onto the ball. Also will not get himself out of trouble. Looks for the moonshot for a team that won't have great protection all the time. I saw it last year, Will.
Okay. Number 6 on mine is Aaron Rodgers. I have very little interest to the Aaron Rodgers circus that would come to town. And I think it'd be fine. I mean, look, I think you could do worse. I would rather just draft Cam Ward than have Aaron Rodgers.
Same.
I want Cam and bring in Aaron Rodgers for a year.
You want Aaron Rodgers?
You want both?
I think just in terms of production, give me a year of that.
I don't want Aaron Rodgers mentoring my future quarterback.
I get, and I am not an Aaron Rodgers fan. You guys know this in terms of, but I just feel like if it's for a year and he is a future Hall of Fame guy, and I know that you might get all the stuff that comes along with it, but at any point, put Cam Ward in if you feel like he is to that point where he can grow. But start Aaron Rodgers. Let him get beat up.
No.
Let him do in terms of the line getting their stuff together until half of the season, and then put in Cam.
We're viewing Aaron Rodgers like your dad's old antique Corvette.
But his stats weren't bad
you
last
love
year.
it, but it's still a piece of crap, and that needs a whole lot of work. No, Aaron Rodgers was bad last year.
No, go look at his stats.
The production was fine.
It wasn't
fine.
bad.
He dropped. If you drop the
And he
Hall of
played
Fame,
in all the games.
If you drop 5 years from now, when you mention Aaron Rodgers in the Hall of Fame, he's not the same person at quarterback.
And the struggle was that they're losing so many games. He's going to have yards because they got to throw the football. They lost a lot of football games. I mean, that's the struggle with the production being what it is and the context around it.
I mean, we're speaking about, I think it was you that brought it up the other day about Garrett Wilson, him not being on the same page. That's a young guy that he's clearly not connected with.
Yeah.
So imagine what it would be like here.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. I'm just talking, I guess, in terms of production, like when you just look at the numbers, and that's what's hard on these drills, to take away the personality sometimes. It's like Aaron Rodgers, as just the production side of him last year, was not bad. And if that was what I was going to bring here, I understand you have to bring in the personality as well. But that's the type of year quarterback I'm kind of looking for, is somebody who is a little bit more of a vet that can still have somewhat of, I guess, Kirk Cousins, even though I'm not high on him.
I didn't put him on this list either because I think he is either in Cleveland or Atlanta.
But
Kevin Stefanski made him really good in Minnesota, and vet deal minimum. I think he's going to Cleveland. I don't even think he's an option.
I mean, Daniel Jones, I'm not against that either.
Well, we'll continue to rank these when we come back as the conversation
not
continues
a lot of great
next.
Options.
It's Ramon Foster, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, they've been in business since 1990 and is family owned and operated. Jimmy Hiller was recently named amongst the most admired CEOs because of the way he truly cares for his team and his clients, man. Hiller takes care of the customer on every job, every single time, and they stand by their work. Their motto is, happy you'll be as the service is free. And they absolutely mean it. If a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right, man. They send a professional and experienced, trustworthy technicians to come into your home, and they will leave it cleaner and better than they found it. Better thing about Hiller is this. They offer true transparency pricing. What this means is this, is Hiller will line item every part of the job up front so homeowners can easily understand what they're paying for and why. There will be no hidden fees, no added costs, and no surprises when you get your bill. If you need anything done around your house, whether it be plumbing, heating, or cooling, or electrical, reach out to the company that I trust at happyhiller.com.
We've got the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
RKW 104.5 The Zone, brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Wrapping up hour 2. I've given all of us 7 names at quarterback. We're ranking 1 through 7. Who we want, who we don't want. So far, we have gotten through 6 and 7. So 1 through 5. Number 5 on your list, guys.
Number 5 on my list.
Whomst.
Russ.
I thought that was 6.
No, I went Zach, Will, Russ was 5 for me.
I didn't realize you put Levis at 6. Okay.
Yeah, I put Zach, Will, Russ. That's what we think we're just.
Zach,
so you both have Russ Wilson 5th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got Zach Wilson 5th. 4th choice.
4th choice, Aaron Rodgers.
Daniel Jones.
Why Rodgers Ramon first so high?
Why so high?
Yeah.
Price. And also just the last few years, he hasn't uplifted any one of the organizations he's been with as of late. It was bad when he left Green Bay. Caused him to have get all his friends there too. Same thing happened with the Jets, albeit year 1 was the Achilles. For a potential future Hall of Fame quarterback, for a Hall of Fame quarterback to only go 5-12 with the weapons that he had,
sure,
I don't see him elevating this team either here, even if Todd Downing was his offensive coordinator.
Fair enough. Kayla, your 4 was who?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones?
Yeah. I think he's still, in a way, if you're just projecting him to be your starter, that's hard to project because he could be a project, absolutely. But a lot of these younger guys, you mentioned Zach Wilson as well, project, right? So I don't know if I would be like, oh, yeah, he's ready to be a starter here in Tennessee right now when that might take a couple years to get him back to being what he should be, if that makes sense.
Again, the question was, who do you want starting the majority of the games in 2025? So the option to do multiple of these. My 4th choice is Cam Ward. Out of all of these options, I still have major concerns about Cam Ward's ability to play within the structure of an NFL offense. And I believe it's going to take the perfect situation for him to be successful, and I don't think this is that situation. I think the 2026 Titans could be closer to the situation to make him successful. If I'm drafting Cam Ward, I would also like him to sit for one singular season, for 1 year. He is my QB1 in 2026, but there needs to be a specific plan. There needs to be an idea of how you are going to spend 2025. And quite honestly, I'd probably sign a backup as well because I don't want to hurt and stunt his growth by doing what you did with Malik Willis and Will Levis, which was probably throwing them out there before they were ready. That's the only reason I'll compare. The only reason I think is similar, him and Malik Willis. Those two do not have a lot of similarities as a prospects. That is the only way I think they are similar. He is my 4th choice, Cam Ward. I'm still open to drafting him for playing him this year. He is my 4th choice.
Gotcha.
3rd choice.
Danny Dimes.
Me too.
Okay.
Potential. Was under Kevin O'Connell, can figure out, he's got the tools. Each one of these quarterbacks got the tools. To me, he seems to be, if you're going to draft Cam, he's a 1-year bridge. I am of the mindset, I'm okay with Cam sitting too. But if you're going to have a 1-year guy, he fits the mold to me.
3rd choice, Kayla?
Yeah, and again, this is, I guess it's hard. Is this just like what we'd want? Because realistically, it's different for me. Because realistically, I think Aaron Rodgers would be more of a 1-year bridge that they'd bring in to for Cam Ward to sit under. But personally, my choice would be Aaron Rodgers. I don't think realistically, I think it could be better that he's in front of these other two that I'm going to say. But Aaron Rodgers, I'd put next. And I will just say, in terms of what his field production was last year, I'd only predict him to start a year here. And I would also feel comfortable probably even halfway through the season if they did draft Cam Ward to come in at that point and take over if he needed to.
Number 2.
Cam.
Okay.
Cam falls number 2 on that list out of the first overall pick conversation. If you draft him and you don't get any of these other guys, then guess what? You probably got to play him. And simply because as far as projections, he may have the highs of the best of the rest at that point. As far as you can try to train him up while he's playing. I'm not of that mindset, though, to do that.
Yeah, and that's my next one, too, because if it was a perfect world, And you could have Sam Darnold here because he didn't mind, possibly being benched after a season. I think Sam Darnold gives you the best option next year to win. I just don't think realistically that can happen or it will happen. But I do think he is probably your best option. So I'll put Cam next and Sam first.
Russell Wilson. I'll be honest with you. I think Russell Wilson helps Brian Callahan save his job and stabilize things. I think you have the option to still draft Cam Ward if you brought in Russell Wilson, and he's an easy one-round quarterback stopgap. I tend to believe this is one of the more unrealistic options. So Titans fans who are going to hate this take, I think he's going to Vegas to go be with his old head coach in Pete Carroll. So I don't think that will happen. I do not think Russell Wilson is going to be the next quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. But I think they could do a lot worse. 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in 11 games last year, a winning record as a starter. You're 6-5 as a starter. And again, I don't really want Russell Wilson. The whole point of this exercise is you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yes.
We have a lot of people that'll react to this and are reacting to this in our stream saying like, how dare you guys hype up Daniel Jones? I don't want to.
But this is the situation they're in.
I'd love for Will Levis to just have been the guy and not put us in this situation. But here we are. And you don't have Justin Fields. You don't have Derek Carr. You don't have all these other options. Which is why, to me, as we get the number one, I think it's Sam Darnold. I really do. And I think you could do a 3-year deal worth $35 million a year with money up front that you could get out of after 2 years and do with Sam Darnold.
And you're not sticking and picking a quarterback, right?
Nope.
Right.
I'm trading back, taking Abdul Carter. I want to sign Sam Darnold. Let it be known. Not like anyone, my opinion is not relevant. I mean, it's relevant, but it's not, not that it's that big of a deal. But I'm on the Sam Darnold train.
We can play every what if, too, with this scenario. Mm-hmm. What if they're trash with Sam Darnold and they're picking in the top again? It's the worst time to be bad. Period.
So, your number one choice is
my number one pick, and I wouldn't want to get him, but I'm okay with trying to win with him, is Sam Darnold.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with him, but I'm still sticking and picking a quarterback, and I'm still starting Cam Ward after the first year.
Your number one is who?
Sam Darnold.
It's Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
But you understand, though, like, he can't sign a 1-year deal.
But, Moan, that's my whole thing. This is not realistic. Like, if I had it, I already told you my realistic opportunity or option would be like a 1-year Aaron Rodgers, start him for a year and then bring in Cam. But if you really are like, you don't have any rules or things, he's the best option to start and then eventually have Cam come in.
We say it all the time. 3-year deals mean you're there for 2. 5-year deal means 3. 4-year deal often means 4. Just because you signed Sam Darnold for 3 years does not mean that Sam Darnold has to be your quarterback for 3 years. I think Sam Darnold is your quarterback for 26 and 27, and then you reassess.
But if
who's the most expensive backup quarterback then? Because that's what Sam Darnold would turn into if you still stick and pick with Cam. It's the only.
That's why I don't know if he'd come.
I'm considering the business of his deal is what I'm going. I'm okay with signing Sam for 3 and still drafting Cam too, but it's the business of his deal too.
Right.
That has to be put in play for this exercise, in my opinion.
And if Sam here's my thing. If Sam had another option where he knows he's going to be the guy no matter what because they're not drafting a quarterback, I think Sam's going to go there.
I would be shocked if the Titans signed Sam Darnold and drafted Cam Ward. That would shock me.
Sure, me too.
It would shock me. I don't think that's an option. Maybe.
Oof.
Stranger things have happened, but those are your options.
This is not easy, folks.
Those are your choices at this point. Your reaction next, 615-737-1045. We'll give you the proposed contract. ESPN.com. I love this exercise. Teron Davenport became Mike Borgonzi. The Raiders NFL Nation reporter became John Spytek. And Dan Graziano was the player rep who picked which deal proposed by those reporters he would pick if he was representing Sam Darnold. And we'll give you what those numbers are and if you would do that deal coming up next.
It's officially Truck Month at Two Rivers Ford, and I want to give a shout out to the number one selling truck in America, the Ford F-Series. Ford F-Series trucks are literally the best trucks on the road. They have the durability, the towing capacity, the technology that rolls right over the competition. And when it comes to Ford trucks also, no one has more trucks than Two Rivers Ford. Right now, Two Rivers has over 200 F-150s in stock, all the trims, all the colors, and all the options that you want. You can get exactly what you want at Two Rivers Ford. And Two Rivers Ford always sells the F-150s below MSRP, and everything is upfront and honest, too. This isn't one of those dealers that advertises one price, and when you get to the lot, it's a different price. Absolutely not. Two Rivers prides themselves on doing business with integrity. They even have non-commissioned sales team, which means there's no pressure when you walk on the lot. So take advantage of special truck month saving, all right, and test drive the baddest truck on the road at Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
8:01 from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. It was an upset night on the final big Tuesday of the college basketball season as top-ranked Auburn goes down 83-72 to 22nd-ranked Texas A&M. The Yankees' first win since they beat Arkansas on February the 15th. You still had Valentine's Day chocolate at that point. It's A&M's first ever win over a team ranked number one of the AP Top 25 poll, ending a 6-game winning streak for the top-ranked Tigers. In Nashville yesterday, Memorial Gym, Arkansas 90, Vanderbilt 77, as Janelle Davis leads the way for the Razorbacks with 21 points. Arkansas shot 51% for the floor, limiting Vanderbilt to just 23 of 60, a 38% clip at home in a late night game. The Eagles are awarding Saquon Barkley for his historic season. He gets a 2-year, $41.2 million contract extension yesterday, making him the league's highest paid running back in league history. And 3 weeks after parting ways with quarterback Aaron Rodgers, the Jets released his favorite target, Devontae Adams, on Tuesday. The Jets have also given permission to wide receiver Allen Lazard to seek a trade before the beginning of the league year in exactly 1 week. And last night on ice, the Preds beat the Bruins 6-3. Nashville finishes its 3-game Northeast road trip with a win as Steven Stamkos recorded his 600th career assist. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Second half of the show in Hour 3, RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. With locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. We'll be joined by Mike Tanier coming up in 15 minutes, someone who looks at the NFL from a numbers perspective and will provide a little bit of different analysis. Been a minute since we've had Mike on, but one of our favorites. Does a great job talking about the NFL. And Rhett Bryan will join us coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. Your comments in the F&M Bank chat, which is alive and active this morning. Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. A number of interesting comments on ESPN.com this morning as ESPN's Jeremy Fowler and Teron Davenport have a big piece up at ESPN.com. We will put that out on our Twitter because there is so much info. We could spend the rest of the show just sitting here reading it, having story time.
It's a lot.
On the show. The headlines out of it are that Cam Ward won over Titans coaches in Indianapolis at the Combine, and that the Titans have some interest in Sam Darnold if he is a free agent. He is considered the top free agent, and according to this piece from Fowler and Teron, will require $30 million per year plus. Probably not, though, in the $40 million range. Feels like if he was going to get $40 million in the open market, he would have gotten that via a franchise tag from the Vikings, and they would have tried to either keep him at that or trade him if they didn't want him.
Market has been set because of the Combine. Like, these teams have talked, and that's what sucks about it for the player sometimes is you go in expecting one thing and hopeful, and the next thing you know, you get less than what market value suggests. Other part of that 30 is this, though, too. It, like, fans, I'm going to continually say this until we get to a point of understanding. Like, the salary cap is way higher than it ever has been. This isn't 2012 when quarterbacks are getting $25 million and it's the high end. No, 30 is still a value.
Yep, I agree. So Teron Davenport and Ryan McFadden of ESPN.com in this piece at ESPN also this morning, they've been busy. Some great stuff on here today. Have offers to Sam Darnold. So in this exercise, Dan Graziano, the national reporter, is the player rep and would choose between these two offers. The Raiders offer from Ryan McFadden, 3 years, $125 million, $55 million guaranteed. The Titans offer 3 years, $120 million, $85 million guaranteed. $40 million a season for Sam Darnold. Teron Davenport writes, this deal gets Darnold to the coveted $40 million yearly average and offers an opportunity for him to be a starter for the next 3 years. He would also get to re-enter the free agent market at 30. to get another chance at a big contract. The Titans can use more of their free agent funds and turn to the draft to complement Darnold while he attempts to prove himself capable of being their next long-term signal caller. Will toss an opt-out option after 2 years. That's a part of the deal.
And by the way, these are just them making up these deals, right? This isn't like they've heard that these are deals. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, no. The point is that I just said is that these guys are playing GM.
Yes.
And Dan Graziano is playing agent. Dan Graziano would pick the Titans deal within this. Says the higher guarantee money of $85 million up front swings it. Darnold would have a little bit of concern that the Titans might also take a guy in the draft, leaving him to potentially get Kirk Cousins'd. But the Raiders bring that same concern. This is more money, and Darnold will still get to hit free agency again at 29 or 30. Would you do that deal? 3 years, 120 with an opt-out after 2 and 85 guaranteed.
Yeah, I would. Absolutely. Again, the money is still way less than what the franchise. They're getting 55 and 60s right now. If you want to have a competent offense, and yeah, the optics of you having Sam Darnold might not be what you want it to be, Titans fans, but it's the best option you have as far as a veteran and trying to sustain some level of winning when it comes down to this team, especially if you're not getting the draft picks that you want from the trading out of number one if you choose to. This is the worst time to have this happen. This is just all it is. This is all this is at that point. And you sometimes just have to sit in it and hope that it's going to be good. This to me sounds like, and you said it, you referenced it, this sounds like Minnesota to Kirk Cousins. Ain't no other way around it. Kirk did some good stuff up there.
And Atlanta to Kirk Cousins.
It is. Like he's new Kirk at this point in my mind. And those are just the options you're left with. You don't have Peyton Manning leaving Indianapolis at this point.
Taylor, would you do that deal?
If I'm the Titans, I still think there's not a lot to choose from. He's the best quarterback in free agency right now from just what he did last year. But he's still not a finished project of possibly being your guy for 3 years. We don't know yet. And Sam Darnold in this atmosphere with this head coach who's still trying to prove himself as an offensive play caller and a developer of quarterbacks as well. A commitment of 3 years, and I understand there would be outs in that, and a commitment of $85 million when I could just go get another guy, I feel, for a year and draft Cam Ward.
So you wouldn't do
I'm not going to do it.
Okay. I'm doing it. Comment from Bryan said he had one good season. No. Well, all the other options you haven't even had one good season.
One's declining at Aaron Rodgers.
That is the point. This is not ideal, paying Sam Darnold $40 million a year, but it's either that or you mortgage your future into a prospect that in Cam Ward that has some pretty major red flags. He does. So those are your options at this point. It feels to me like it's going to be one of those two. It's Darnold or Cam.
It is. It is.
And it could be Cam and also. But, again, I don't love the $40 million either. Oh. But I can't name you a better choice at this point, in my opinion.
Would Will Levis, this is the other question, if they brought Sam Darnold and did not draft a quarterback, let's say, I do think Will Levis would stay here.
I do, too, at that point.
I really do.
The $40 million is why Will Levis got to sit back and shut up.
Absolutely.
Probably. Let's go to the phones, get your reaction. Start with Dustin in Cookeville this morning. What's up, Dustin?
Not much, man. Kind of unfortunately has some battered Titan syndrome because I'm kind of getting used to having the bad stuff happen right off the bat. I kind of agree with all sides, but unfortunately, I would rather trade back. I don't really like having the first pick with the QBs that are in the market. I don't really like Store. Cam is okay. I just kind of have battered syndrome when I think about having another year like I had with Levis. My question is if we trade back, I know they had some concerns of Abdul with his foot. I was hoping to get Trey Smith from Kansas City. Obviously, that didn't happen. Would there be a deal if we came back later in the draft and got more picks, maybe got Abdul and maybe Lyman, because I know that right side. I know I would rather have a better QB, but I'm fine with Sam Darnold. But if we don't have any blocking on that right side of the line, would that be possible to get more picks to possibly pick up the tackle from out of Texas? Because that's what I'm more worried about. I do like a QB, but if we have no protection on that right side. I'm kind of worried about who we have back there, period.
No doubt.
Appreciate it,
that.
Dustin. Thanks for the call. Yes, you have that option, absolutely.
You do have that option.
To sign Darnold, move back, get Abdul Carter, and draft your right tackle with the 35th overall pick, and maybe even get a wide receiver with a third that you could pick up in the process. Yeah.
You hate it now, but if Sam Darnold brings you 9 or 10 wins, the conversation changes.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we don't know.
No, we don't.
Let's go to Bam up next. What's up, Bam?
Yo, what's good, fam? Everybody doing all right?
We're
Yeah,
good.
great.
What's
Good
up, man?
morning.
Yo, I got two things. One, Ramon, you remember Gus's out in East Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
What if I told you there's a place just like Gus's here out in East Nashville called Music City Sandwich Company?
I heard. The owner is by the name of Bam.
Yeah, no, it's my dude Jason.
I
Look, you heard a lot of stories about you and Slay. I heard a lot of stories about you and Slay and Gus. But look, best sandwiches out there. But look, check this out.
I'll check it out.
Are y'all completely out on Shador? Because everybody has just completely just.
It's the
dropped
value,
conversation about
Bam.
him.
It's the value.
Okay.
It's like putting like a lift on a rusted out truck. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as the number 1 overall pick, as far as value, I'm not saying he's a rusted out truck. I'm just saying, why would you put a full lift kit, don't change the undercarriage or nothing, when all you want is the big lift? You see what I'm saying? Like, Shador is slated as a mid-first to possibly later. Okay, that's the only issue. You gotta be realistic about that. I like the player, I do, but the number 1 overall pick when Cam is a better prospect, that gets you fired.
Okay, so let's just say he falls to the second round. Do you pick him up in the second round?
That's light work right there. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think you would, but I just don't. I don't
think
see
you
that
will.
happening.
Yeah.
Got you. That's all. That was my question.
Yeah,
Now,
no, and it's a good question because it has been a
Thank you, man. Appreciate
separation
it.
in the last week for sure with these two quarterbacks to the point where we're not even mentioning Shador's name.
Good to hear from you, Bam. Appreciate the call. I think the Shador falling out of the first round stuff is way overblown. Way overblown.
Yeah, I don't think he's falling
I think
out of
my
the
guess at this point is that Cam Ward's going 1 and Shador's going 2 to Cleveland.
Yep.
That has been consistent from all these national folks, and we'll see if it's true or not, but consistent that if there's one thing we know in the top 5 picks, it's that the Cleveland Browns are taking a quarterback. So we'll see. Coming up, Mike Tanier is going to join us, founder of Two Deep Zone. You've read his work at Football Outsiders, a new venture for him. Great stuff, talking NFL headlines and Titans coming up next.
There is so much going on here in Nashville, and we love all the options, no doubt about it. But sometimes those options can be overwhelming, especially when it comes to finding a real estate agent that you can truly trust. That is why you definitely need to check out my friend Bernie Gallerani. Bernie Gallerani has years of experience. He knows the neighborhoods, and he cares about your buying or selling goals. In fact, Bernie guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he's just going to buy it from you. Finding the right home takes time. We all know that. And for Charisse, that meant 6 months of searching for the perfect place. That is where Bernie Gallerani Real Estate made all the difference. From day one, the team was patient, answering every question, making the entire process smooth and stress-free. So when Charisse was ready to buy, she found her perfect home. Look, Bernie is the only real estate agent in Nashville, recommended by Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank, and the only agent I would trust to sell my home. So give him a call. Give Bernie a call on his cell phone, 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644, or go to BernieGallerani.com.
RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone with locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, and Smyrna. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. As we continue Titans and NFL Combine takeaway discussion, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling, joined by our good friend Mike Tanier, longtime NFL writer. You can check out his work, MikeTanier.substack.com, Too Deep Zone. Great stuff covering the NFL. Mike, what's going on, man? How are you?
It is great to be back. It was great to be in Indianapolis for the Combine, but it's great to be back on your show.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that, Mike.
Absolutely. Good to hear your voice. We're trying to fix the Titans. There's a lot to fix, Mike. Let's be honest. We got time here. Between Cam Ward or Sam Darnold, if I'm giving you those two options for the Tennessee Titans at quarterback, which is the better one at this point for them, in your opinion?
You know what? You said at this point, I think the answer is Sam Darnold. And I actually really like Cam Ward a lot, but I'm taking away from what Mike Bagazzi said at the podium. I'm taking away from what I'm looking at the roster. And, Bagazzi said something like, you could put Superman back there behind a bad offensive line, and he's not going to produce. And Cam Ward is not Superman. And that offensive line is bad. So you put Darnold back there, you lower your expectations, and more importantly, you put yourself in a position to do what I think the Titans are trying to do, which is trade down a couple of spots for a team that wants the quarterback right now and see if you can fix some things like the trenches and the playmaker situation.
Mike Tanier, our guest. It is so interesting, too, because so rarely, Mike, does a team that needs a quarterback at one not take one if they sit there. But there are a lot of holes in this roster, and John Mara is a desperate owner of the New York Giants with a couple of guys that are trying to keep their jobs. What could that price look like, in your opinion, if the Giants were to move up? And just how real do you feel like their desperation is to make a deal with the Titans at this point?
Oh, their desperation is very real because you have both a head coach and a general manager there who are lame ducks, so to speak. They don't have time. The new general manager of the Titans has time. He's brand new. Callahan, I think, has a little time. People know the situation he was dealt. So they are desperate. It was tricky, though, because I'm looking at the price, and you start with, well, you give them your first-round pick, give them your first-round pick next year. So, the Titans move down 2 spots this year and get a first-round pick next year. And then you want a little more. And I'm not sure what the little more looks like. Because if you look at the Giants roster, there's not a lot of there either. They're picking third for a reason. And, the top trade bait on their roster would be like Kayvon Thibodeau, their top edge rusher. But I think the Titans, if they move down, just want Abdul Carter. Now you can have Abdul Carter and Thibodeau and be like, okay, we're going to get 1 million sacks, and that's going to get us some wins. That's not a bad plan, and you already have, Landry and Simmons and other guys there to help with that. But I don't know how that looks, and that's probably what the conversations are boiling down to. Can the Giants give you a player that you use, or are you going to turn around and say, give us more picks? I think the Titans would be happy with more picks if they're the right picks.
Our good friend Mike Tanier is with us this morning from Too Deep Zone. Mike, what was the initial conversation? Because you were in the pit and around those guys at the Combine and surrounding the quarterbacks post their conversation. Just one to the other, how are they viewed?
Well, Cam Ward is a straight down the middle guy, and I didn't hear much of him because I thought he was going to be a straight down the middle guy. He's not somebody who's going to go out there and blow up the microphone with hot takes. Shedeur Sanders, I heard so many mixed things. I was impressed by Shedeur Sanders. I think there was a mix of, you can tell he's primetime son with the way he does some things, and a mix of, I know I need to work. I know I need to get out there and play less hero ball and work on my technique, and some of that humility that you might not normally expect from somebody with the last name of Sanders, but it was clearly there. So, but then other people came away and said, well, this guy's an acquired taste, so to speak. He does talk about Tom Brady a lot, both like I compare myself to Tom Brady, and hey, I know Tom Brady because, we're friends of the family and things like that. If I'm looking for a safe pick and my offensive line is not great, I'm going for Cam Ward. If I were a team further down in the draft order, the Rams, for example, and say, well, I can put this guy on the bench behind Matthew Stafford for a year, and no one's going to question why he's behind Matthew Stafford or somebody like that. I would definitely love Shedeur Sanders because then you can mold him a little bit and get away from sort of the guy he was at Colorado and see what kind of talent you can unlock in him.
Mike Tanier with us this morning. I had another question, but I'm going to go back to the quarterbacks one more time then. Mike, when you look at these situations with these quarterbacks, though, do you say to yourself that either one will come in and be the studs that you want them to day one? Because I feel like the last couple of years, you don't want it to be buyer remorse as it pertains to the Titans. They got the number 1 overall pick, so you can pick the bell of the ball, right? Same way that Chicago's able to, the same way Carolina was. The issue is, it's been the second quarterbacks that have been taken that have kind of jumped on the scene. And, of course, FOMO, the fear of missing out. What do you do with these picks, Mike? Because there's no sure shot on anybody at this point. But everybody wants a Jaden Daniels and a C.J. Stroud.
Right, and I don't know if Cam Ward can be a Jaden Daniels or a C.J. Stroud, but in preparedness, he could be Bo Nix. He could be somebody where you get out there, and if you can sort of settle down, he has a hero ball tendency. But he will also check down. He also has good footwork, some of these other things. You can get him into a structure of an offense where he has a lot of success for you right away. The problem with Shedeur Sanders is if you put him out there right away, you saw what Caleb Williams was doing last year. He's taking 1 million sacks. He's trying to play hero ball. He's trying to run backwards out of the pocket and taking big losses. It's kind of a mess. The offense isn't functioning for most of the year. Sanders is going to give you a even wackier version of that experience. So, I don't know if there's a solution there unless you're comfortable with saying, well, Ward can start out as Bo Nix. And that's why we circle back to a team like the Titans saying, hey, you know what? We pick Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter and then put Sam Darnold out there, and we can just figure out some of the other things for a year because this is not a draft class that has Jaden Daniels or C.J. Stroud in it.
Our friend NFL writer and founder of Two Deep Zone, Mike Tanier, joining us this morning on RKW. So let me take that a little bit further, Mike, in terms of that conversation. Let's say they decided we're all in at some point on Cam Ward, taking him number 1 overall, but we do feel like we need to give him a little room to grow. Who would be then the next best option for a bridge year quarterback? And do you feel like at some point in that first year you have to play Cam Ward, or can he sit for a big amount of time?
Well, one of the bridge quarterbacks that I would normally consider is somebody that played for the Titans last year, in Mason Rudolph. If you don't take Rudolph, you're going to take another guy like Rudolph. You're going to bring in your Jacoby Brissett types and Cooper Rush types, and they're the same guy. They're the same guy. It's interesting that the Panthers grabbed Andy Dalton back. We're taking Andy Dalton back. We're not putting him out there because he's like the higher level bridge quarterback where he has mentored guys successfully in the past and comes off the bench and can win a game or two, that sort of thing. So that's what you're looking at. Now, with any of those guys, you are hoping for a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or anyone else to win the job quickly, to win the job by the bye week or whatever like benchmark you put in place there. And I think a Ward, if things are going well, can outperform a Mason Rudolph in his rookie season and take over that job. But that's what you're looking at right now, and that's why if people are talking about Sam Darnold, that's it. He's a cut above this. He's shown he can get out there and, the structure's half-decent win games. And if he doesn't, he's just Sam Darnold. He can move on the next year. He didn't make a big commitment. Better to do that than to go back to the Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco, Cooper Rush, all of these kind of guys, where you're just kind of grabbing a guy because he started some games in the NFL, and he won't pay himself if he's out there forced to start in week 1.
Mike Tanier joining us this morning on RKW. So, do you think Will Levis will continue to be a Titan this upcoming season? Obviously, he's probably not going to be the starter, but Mike Borgonzi has said he'll have a chance to compete. Or do you think that's just kind of smoke, being blown our way, and he could have an opportunity somewhere else?
I think it's smoke. I think it's saying the right things about a player under contract who hasn't done anything wrong in terms of having off-field issues or stuff like that. You look how the Malik Willis situation went down. He was given the opportunity behind Levis, but how much of an opportunity was it really? He was quickly shunted off elsewhere where he could have a little bit of success. And I think that's the case for Will Levis right now. We'll see how things play out because they may look at the entire free agent market, get outbid for Darnold, have these other things happen and say, we'll start week 1 with Levis. If it's a bridge, let us have a bridge with upside who's under contract who doesn't make that much money. But I don't think there's a plan where it's like, there's a future plan where you're going to win the starting job because that rarely happens. You can even see that with the 49ers and Trey Lance a couple of years ago where he was given a token opportunity. Maybe he'll beat Brock Purdy for the starting job, but it wasn't really set up in a situation where that was going to happen.
Mike Tanier, our guest, longtime NFL writer, covered the NFL, his Substack, MikeTanier.substack.com at 2 Deep Zone. So, Mike, in a copycat league, if everyone wants, say, Jayden Daniels in the draft, they're also looking for the next Sam Darnold. Of the reclamation projects who are out there, do you see someone with Darnold-level upside in a Zach Wilson or a Daniel Jones or a Justin Fields who could make a leap this upcoming season?
No. To elaborate on that a little bit, we know what Fields is. If you grab Fields, you're going to get an elite scrambler with an elite arm who does give 110% effort, and you can start continuing to do what the Steelers tried to do, which is try to mold down the edges. I don't think the edges are getting molded down at this point, but at least you get a guy where you can talk about his upside. All these other guys, it becomes one of those things you talk about to talk about. Like Zach Wilson, I don't know what he did as the third stringer for the Broncos that somehow, Sean Payton's cast a spell on him or something like that to make him good. Mac Jones played a bunch of games last year and had a win or two. And if you really stare at it and scrutinize it and start dreaming and daydreaming, you can say, well, he could be this or that. I really don't see it in these guys. If you're going out there looking for a reclamation project, you're going into a dry well. And that's what's so difficult about this season for quarterbacks is there's not a lot in free agency. There's not a lot in the draft. You're blessed to have the first overall pick because at least you can talk about Ward. But a lot of teams are going to be kicking the tires on Kirk Cousins-like solutions or Daniel Jones-like solutions, and those aren't good solutions.
Our good friend Mike Tanier is with us this morning. Mike, there's the business behind these picks and wins and losses, and also is in play when you speak about this team having a number one overall selection. And that is, how do you feel about the coach in this conversation, considering the GMs are safe as far as I'm concerned? You just hired Borgonzi. Yeah. Chad Bringer just got a new position. They got a lot of pieces in place, but winning is a part of your reputation in this league. Do you view this as a Zach Wilson type of situation where you get more time, or do you say to yourself, with that much change in the front office with a GM group that did not hire directly Brian Callahan, do you see him as being safe if he chooses to go a rookie quarterback and they still lose next year, just on the basis of where this team is and how much they got to fill in?
Well, and that's what's tricky, because if they draft Cam Ward, then Brian Callahan is sort of on notice to get a good season out of Cam Ward. And if he doesn't, then what you say is exactly right. The GM didn't hire this guy. The GM might want to bring in his guy. If we're talking about Sam Darnold and journeymans and bridges, and this is the plan, if the plan is literally we traded out of that first overall pick and we're going to try and rebuild the defense, then I think Callahan will have another kind of mulligan year. And I think outside the organization, a lot of us think of that year last year as a mulligan year. The Titans didn't have the quarterback. Levis wasn't the solution. He was picked by an outgoing administration. A lot of money got spent on really strange choices like DeAndre Hopkins and bringing in Tyler Boyd and guys like that to try and support Levis when it didn't look like the guys they brought in had a lot left. So we'll know more about how Callahan is perceived based on how the team proceeds. But I get the impression that he'll get the year. The team doesn't have to win if they get Cam Ward, but they have to go out there and say, look at Cam Ward. He had a Bo Nix season. He was runner-up rookie of the year. So that kind of thing where Callahan can say, look, we're building. Let's keep moving together in the right direction.
Mike Tanier joining us this morning on RKW. Mike, it is amazing how much we, are talking about one position right now. And this is almost every day on our show because it's the most, coveted position, and they don't have anybody really at this spot at quarterback. But when you speak about the weapons, specifically in the wide receiver room right now, they really have Calvin Ridley, and then you name whatever other one you think you can think about. How big is it for maybe them to find their another addition to their wide receiver room, whether that is in the draft, which I don't know where they're going to get him, but or signing somebody in free agency?
Yeah, this would be it's not a great receiver class in free agency or in the draft either. It's another season of that. I had to look it up. It's like, oh yeah, Tyler Boyd's a free agent again. Nick Westbrook is a free agent now. He'll probably leave. Chiggy Aquino is a good tight end. You can get good tight ends in this draft, but you've got a pretty good tight end there in him. And again, this kind of goes back to the logic of we're going to trade down and fix other things. Because if you do go into the wide receiver group, you've got guys like Matthew Golden out there. You have guys like Trattoria coming out of Arizona, where you can say, we can bring these guys into the room and this can help. But I don't know where the massive upgrade at wide receiver is going to go. This is a great draft to fix your defense. It's an outstanding draft to fix your defense. Yeah. And that might be the logic here. It's not like the Titans' defense is bad, but it's got a lot of older guys. Mm-hmm. And you can go in and you can get that settled, and then you can kind of add pieces at wide receiver that might be able to help.
Longtime NFL writer Mike Tanier has been our guest this morning covering the NFL. His Substack, Two Deep Zone, a great resource for NFL fans. Make sure you go and subscribe and check out his work. Great stuff, Mike. Good to hear from you again, sir. We'll do it again soon. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care and enjoy the free agency period.
Oh, we will.
Mike.
There's Mike Tanier with us here this morning. We have got a trade in the NFL. Some breaking news.
Boom.
Joe Thuney is a Chicago Bear.
Wow, that happened quick.
Kansas City to Chicago. It was reported 15 minutes ago that the Chiefs wanted to trade the All-Pro guard. And then about 10 minutes later, the Bears said, we'll take him. Obviously, that's not really how this worked, but essentially, publicly, it seemed that way. A 2026 fourth-round pick for a 32-year-old guard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're valuable, right?
Yeah. I'll give
the win to Kansas City on that one. That's an overpay.
It is, but for a team that needs protection in the worst
time.
Mm-hmm.
Second straight day they've traded for a guard. They got Jonah Jackson from the Rams yesterday.
Yeah.
Look, even if it was 1 year, we got to make Caleb look really good, at least to give him a positive outlet for the future, then I get it. It is a little bit of an overpay, but they got to do it.
They're not willing to ruin Caleb is what it sounds like.
I don't think they have to do it, though. Like, they could have signed Zeitler and not given up any of that draft capital. I think they reacted too quickly.
You think they did?
I think giving up draft capital for two interior offensive linemen on back-to-back days, and I know it was only a sixth this year to the Rams in exchange for Jonah Jackson, but you could have just let the Rams cut him too.
You could.
Which they were probably going to do next week. So I think Ryan Poles and the Bears are getting a little too desperate.
And they have to, though.
Just my opinion.
They have to be that desperate when it comes down to, like, really captivating what Caleb Williams can turn into the second year. You got to also think, too. And Ben Johnson, that's all he's used to is having a good offensive line. So coming from Detroit and having guys up front that can't operate your offense the way you want it to is something where he will be seen as a play caller. Like, it's one thing to be good and be a genius in your mind. It's another thing to be able to have the weapons to be able to, like, really set out your plan and deliver it to the world to see. He's under a lot of pressure coming from Detroit to Chicago to perform. It's the way I see this one. So this is a Ben Johnson thing. No, I'm talking about Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, yeah. I mean, a first-year head coach, a second-year quarterback that needs to take a leap. You're probably trying to pad them with as much, literally pad them with as much as you can.
Have to. This is a Ben Johnson issue to me more than it is Poles.
Interesting.
In my opinion.
There you go. Joe Thuney headed to the Chicago Bears for a 2026 fourth. It's the Kansas City way. This is what you want your franchise to be under Mike Borgonzi. You, even when you sign good players, you cash in on them while you still can, while they still have value, and you go find another good one. 615-737-1045. I know we spent a lot of time us talking about the quarterbacks, about the options. We have got open phone lines here heading just for about a couple minutes before Rhett Bryan joins us at the beginning of the fourth hour. So if you want to get in, you got to get in quick. 615-737-1045. We'll hit more NFL news from yesterday when we come back on 1045 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Man, listen to me. They have my seal of approval on this deal that could change your life. Yes, walk into the building, tell them you want the behind-the-lines offer that they're giving up right now. And you're probably wondering, well, what is it? It's a $37 consultation that includes a doctor's visit, x-rays if you need them, and your first treatment. If you need more in-depth treatment because you are a part of the Zone family, you're listening right now, they will also give you 50% off spinal decompression treatments. Man, yes, one of the best things going on right now, but that's because Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley just want you to get better. Speaking of that decompression treatment too, man, listen to me. They have some of the best equipment and they're never seen before, man. Even in my years in the NFL, these are things that help you get back to your best. The goal is to find the best treatment that works for you, whether it be from lasers, state-of-the-art spinal decompression machines, or to even the zero gravity machines. Yes, I fit in those too. Laid in, set me back, pulled on me a little bit, man. It was awesome. They will find the best strategy to get you better fast, man. So start your road to a pain-free life, and it is possible if you call the Wellness Institute of Nashville at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee, a 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the third hour. Rhett Bryan joins us on deck in 15 minutes. You can hop in for these minutes at 615-737-1045. There's a new highest paid running back in the NFL, Saquon Barkley. 2 years, $41.2 million. Slam dunk. Makes sense. The best running back season in NFL history, 2,504 yards for Saquon Barkley this year. That is just ahead of Terrell Davis's 2,476 in 1998.
Yeah. Big time for Saquon, man.
Good for him.
I did not see this happening. I also wonder if the running back's floor will be raised as far as salary, or will the NFL say, no, you're not like Saquon. You're not like him.
Yeah.
And that's the issue that they're going to run into, because if I was Derrick Henry, I'd be looking at the Baltimore Ravens and saying to myself, hey, I was close. I chose not to go get 2,000 yards. Look what I've done. I need a pay increase also, because Derrick doesn't seem to be slowing down with that team there. It is good for Saquon. Is awesome. Even better for the running backs. Yeah. I will say that too. And again, is what we always speak about when it comes to sports. I remember when the NFL started going no huddle and everybody started airing the ball out. And one of the coaches about this thing is my last year when I was in Pittsburgh, it's like, this is going to go back to a runner's league. And it is right now. Saquon has shown that. Ashton Genty has shown that. There's been some guys that have alluded to the fact that they are that good. But not every team has one of those. And now looking back at it, you got Tony Pollard for a steal, considering he's getting 20. And I do think the floor is going to be raised. ETN is in Buffalo screaming he wants 15 a year. I don't know if anybody's going to pay it, but the fact that Saquon raised the floor to 20 for himself, I'd at least push it and try to get it.
Yeah, especially nowadays, like there are special backs that like you can reward a guy like this for what he just did. And I also like it for the fact that Howie Roseman and them, the decision was to not let him play in that final regular season game, and he didn't get that record. Well, he did get you a Super Bowl, and now you're rewarding him like the Eagles always seem to do. They kind of set the tone when it comes to their players, either getting a deal done early and saying, hey, we believe in you, but plus this is going to help us on the other end, right? And then doing things like this to a running back that was in a way not mistreated in New York because he had injuries, but dude, it wasn't great in New York. Let's all admit that. And so I think it makes Philadelphia also look really good. Like we're rewarding a running back who has had a history with injuries, but he did what he needed to do for us. And this is a day and age too, you guys, where look at the running back class for the draft this year. I mean, it's deep, right? So you can go and roll the dice if your team's every single year on running backs, I feel like, because they're there. But to do this and dedicate yourself to a guy that is at this level and special, like, good on him, and he deserved it.
Elsewhere in the league, Davante Adams gets released yesterday, giving him a head start on the open market since he was cut before the beginning of the new league year. At this point, did you see who the betting favorite is for Davante Adams at plus 190 from DraftKings?
Green Bay.
Green Bay Packers. Yeah. Favorites to bring back Davante Adams. I think it makes a ton of sense.
Isn't that wild?
It does. Did they break up well? Like, did they actually kiss and say goodbye, or did they just stop calling and texting each other?
The Packers got a decent little deal for him.
It's familiar. I mean, he can go back home probably way cheaper right now. I just didn't see Green Bay being in that conversation.
I didn't either, really. Especially, going back to a place that I'm sure it wasn't like a nasty breakup because he got a lot of money somewhere else, but it is different, and he's older in his career. It is Green Bay, right? We all know what comes along with Green Bay, a lot of snow and cold weather. But if you're going to play with a quarterback, too, that I believe has a good future there and has proven he's a pretty decent quarterback. Yeah. Why not if they're going to give you the money?
Yeah. I didn't necessarily see them being a place. I figured he'd be somewhere in Houston, considering Diggs' situation right there. He's at this point, more of a possession guy. You go down the field in certain situations for him.
Yeah.
So fascinating approach. They need more weapons because they do, in my opinion. I do think they have a real good quarterback right there that they can buy in and believe in. Yeah, 100%.
Interesting. One note on the Bears and the trades they've made. Joe Tooney today, Jonah Jackson yesterday. Field Yates writes on Twitter this morning, opens up the board for them at pick 10. They could still go offensive line, but they've got much more optionality now. Let's say on the off chance Shedeur Sanders is there at 10. Like, I wonder how motivated they would be to move back.
Yeah.
The Chicago Bears and stockpile some of this capital again. I don't believe in the Shedeur Sanders slide. I don't.
You think it's unfair? What's happening?
I don't think, fair. The NFL's never fair.
It's never fair.
I think it's fake. Because I do too. I think the Giants are coming up to 1. The Titans are going to 3. And the Browns have to get a quarterback because they have guaranteed money tied to the quarterback position. It's different arithmetic than what the Titans are doing, right? Like the Titans have Will Levis money. That's it. Like the Browns can't pay Deshaun Watson and Sam Darnold. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have nobody. It's going to be like the Bart Simpson throwing the football to himself meme.
Yeah.
I'm with you. They have to. And then right now, Cleveland doesn't seem to be budging on Myles Garrett either.
It's either that or it's Kirk Cousins on a league minimum. And still, I think everywhere Kirk Cousins goes, a quarterback's immediately drafted. But again, like you'd probably do both.
You could.
I would. I almost would.
I'm with you on the Shedeur slide. I don't think in today's NFL, I don't even know if Dallas lets them get past 12. And that's a fairy tale dad type of situation right there.
Could you imagine?
But I'm with you.
That'd be wild, dude.
I will not turn on ESPN morning programming.
If that happens?
Ever. You hear me? Ever. I'd rather talk LeBron and Bronny than Shedeur Sanders be a Dallas Cowboy. For the if you are a fan of the other 31 NFL teams, you better be praying on your knees that does not happen.
But to your original question, if that were to happen, and I am right on with you guys, I think there are a lot of lies in the water right now when it comes to Shedeur and all that stuff. I don't buy any of that. But if he were to do that, I think Chicago should go back and get more picks if that's the case, knowing that somebody else will want to come up and get that QB at that spot.
It's interesting.
To be honest, Seattle could take Shedeur.
I think
absolutely.
I think that kind of fit is perfect. I think in what Mike Tanier mentioned with the Rams, I think it's genius.
Yep.
For a guy like Shedeur Sanders. Like
Rams at 26.
I think both of these quarterbacks are going to have to go to the perfect situation in order to be successful at their first employers.
Yeah.
And if Shedeur Sanders goes somewhere as a backup behind a proven starter, I think he could be a good NFL quarterback. But if he goes somewhere like Cleveland and starts right away, I don't think it's going to go very well. I think if he goes to the Giants and starts right away, it's not going to go very well. I think the same goes for Cam Ward. If you put Cam Ward on the Giants day one, I'm worried for him.
Yeah.
I am.
Ideally, you always want, and especially in this situation, you do want a guy that's there that can at least be the starter that has a little bit of provenness to him, right?
Yeah.
But that'd be a perfect world.
615-737-1045, our number. Rhett Bryan at Titans Radio joins us next.
It's Ramon Foster for Secure Lawn, man. Right now, they are celebrating serving Middle Tennessee for 20 years. Lawns is what they do, and they are good at it. They always want to provide to you a prime service, which means it'll just be the best of the best that will make you lifelong customers, man. They are just simply good at their job. But if you need your trees trimmed or shrubs planted, you probably got to call somebody else because Secure Lawn doesn't do all that. If you want somebody that has your grass looking like something out of a magazine, vaccine, if you need your lawn fertilizer, weed control, then you need to call Secure Lawn, man. They are family owned and operated and local and have been here in Middle Tennessee for over 20 years. They're punctual, quick response time. Not just that, man. They're kids. They live in their communities and attend the local high school and state colleges, man. You want to do business with more local, and you don't ever have to worry about them selling to a bigger company either. They are here to stay. So whether you're protecting residential grass, commercial, or even the athletic fields, man, go ahead and get a head start on your yard and call Secure Lawn at 615-893-8455 or go to securelawn.com.
.901 for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. We've got a trade in the NFL this morning as NFL Network's Ian Rappaport first reports that the Chicago Bears are sending a 2026 fourth-round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs for All-Pro guard Joe Thuney. The 32-year-old is set to make a base salary of $15.5 million next season and is the second straight interior lineman the Bears have reportedly traded for in back-to-back days. Yesterday, the Bears sent a 2025 sixth-round pick reportedly to the LA Rams in exchange for guard Jonah Jackson. It was upset night in the college basketball world last night as number 1 Auburn falls 83-72 in College Station to Texas A&M. The 22nd ranked Aggies pick up their first win since February the 15th against Arkansas. Meanwhile, for Auburn, a loss after they clinched the SEC over the weekend in Rupp Arena against Kentucky. In Nashville yesterday on West End, Arkansas beats Vandy 90-77 as Janelle Davis scores 21 points. Arkansas shoots 51% of the floor while many of you were asleep. Vanderbilt offensively asleep, 38% for the floor on 23 of 60 shooting. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Fourth and final hour of the show, the fourth quarter of your Wednesday morning RKW. We are proudly brewed by our good friends at Scooters Coffee. Visit your local locations. That's in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Have a cinnamon roll for us.
Yeah.
Get some caramelicious coffee that we've been brewing up this morning here for Cumulus Nashville. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling, joined by the executive producer of Titans Radio, the one and only Rhett Bryan in studio. Good morning, Rhett.
Good morning. And let me say this. Scooters Coffee puts the sin in cinnamon because, good Lord, those are ridiculously good.
Right?
Oh, my gosh.
They're fantastic.
I mean, and the trick, it's cream cheese icing.
Mm-hmm. Hands down.
It's
exactly
just,
right.
I'm like, oh, boy, that's danger. Kryptonite.
And I don't know if, Moan, what you were looking at when we dug into the, if you are worried about your calories or counting any of that. He said like a half of one on their website was only, what, 100 and...
I think the entire one, according to my app, was like 319,
Right.
320 calories or something like that.
Pretty good.
But it's
So
a
I ate
big
a half.
cinnamon roll.
Yeah, it is.
But most of the times, though, with that, it's dependent upon how much sugar and stuff like that you
Yeah.
get on it, too. You
Yeah.
got to think, like, how many calories does bread have? It's essentially just bread and cream cheese
Cream
filling.
cheese and sugar.
For all you country people out there, it's what my grandmother would say. It's the size of a cat head biscuit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Biscuit is bigger as a cat's
I'm
head.
telling you, Rhett,
They were warm when they brought them in the other day, too. Oh, man,
Yeah,
I'm
they
getting
were.
really hungry.
Me too.
Caramelicious coffee, too.
It's really good.
It's one of the few coffees. Like, when I drink coffee, I like to drink cold brew or whatever.
Yeah.
But that is the one where I don't feel like adding anything to it at all. Just drink it.
have
It's
to.
good.
Facts.
Doesn't need anything.
I like a flavored blend like that where you don't have to add a lot of sugar to it. It's just already flavorful.
Right.
It's very, very good.
According to them on their website, one entire one is 560 calories, so half one is 250-ish.
Not bad at all.
Okay.
That's
bad.
really not bad.
I like it.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
I like it. Rhett Bryan in studio with us. So, Rhett, you got the chance, along with some other Titans media members, to see new Nissan Stadium the other day. I love somebody posted a picture, Buck posted a picture of him and Lucas, and somebody quote tweeted and said, "You look like the OHSA model on what not to dress like when you go to a construction
Wow.
site," which I thought was great.
The
Anyway.
OSHA to not do list. Okay.
What'd you think? What stood out to you the other day? It looked really awesome.
It's really going to be something that everyone will be proud of. That was the main takeaway because it's more than just the home of the Titans. Like, this thing is going to be, I just could see, I'm like, just in a few years from now, there's going to be this event here, that event here, this, I mean, WWE WrestleMania will be there. There will be a Super Bowl at some point. I think there's a great chance at, some Final Four basketball, college football playoff. Because it will be enclosed with a translucent roof, and so weather elements are not a deal. The other part of it, just kind of run through where they currently are. 22% completed. And they started in the northwest corner, which is the corner that is nearest to the Juvenile Justice Center and also the north end zone of current Nissan Stadium. And they're building out towards the southeast corner, which is the corner closest to what we used to know as the Tiger Market right down there and the exit where it faces the interstate. 90,000 yards of concrete is what was required to be poured in this deal. They've poured 66,000 of it so far. So it's really taking shape. When, we went to the northwest corner that I described where there's like the players parking garage, a couple of other things. And then we went about halfway down on what would be around the 50-yard line of the Titans' home side and looking east to west. And that's where I posted some panoramic picture, and then I've panned a video around to kind of get everybody an idea about what it looks like. But anyway, 66,000 yards of concrete poured now. And where you can go back and look at my Twitter, my X, or anybody else that was there from that northwest corner, that's where the concrete will top out at, I think, 90 feet or whatever it is. That's what it'll look like all the way around. Anything from there and above, which it is going to be taller than current Nissan Stadium, will be steel that they'll start putting up soon.
Cool. Interesting.
And they have a deadline, or what they consider as the finished product, February 17th, 2027.
Nice.
It was described to us that the top out roof level, I think you will see by, want to say, Thanksgiving of this year.
Yeah.
They will start to enclose the roof, and you'll see that really start to take shape in a year from now, in March of 26.
On the roof, real quick, as you continue on, will that be the final translucent roof, or will it be like a mock roof on there, if you happen to know?
No, I mean, it'll be a process where what they're talking about, just the topping out and capping off, is, the steel and the structure that holds all the panels together. Okay. And then they say by Thanksgiving of 26, you will see the roof will be complete.
Wow. Wow.
Interesting.
That's big time, right?
Very dry weather last summer and fall allowed them to stay on time. They're definitely on time with this. They're on budget with it. And a couple other things that I did not realize in this thing in terms of the water supply will be about 95% recycled, filtered, sustainable water. Good. So there is in the northwest corner and the southeast corner, they just finished construction of massive cisterns that will hold hundreds of thousands of gallons of water so that it is all flushable during events and games, and then also enough water to water the landscaping that will be around the stadium.
Nice.
Impressive.
That's
in that
incredible.
point. Little less than 64,000 seats, 132 suites. And now the east end zone, which would be the one closest to the interstate, that is where there will be those seats in the lower bowl will collapse and push back, and they will have a stage there at times that will be the size of the Ryman Auditorium stage. That's load end on that end for concerts, events, that kind of thing. Now, the west end zone, which is the end zone closest to current Nissan Stadium towards the river, that is the one where they will have the on-field suites just off the end zone, like you see in a lot of popular newer stadiums now.
Okay.
Nice.
And the closest thing akin to this project is Allegiant Stadium, where the Raiders play. I think it was the same engineering firm, whatever. Their translucent roof is more oval. This one's going to be circle.
Okay.
Straight up circle. 700,000 square feet of glass in this building. I'm trying to think of some other things that I heard. But anyway, I took notes. So
Can I ask one question on that? When you were standing in the stadium, obviously with, not everything there, but did it feel like you could see, like, okay, this is going to be quaint, but like it's going to be, 60-something, but you can see great everywhere. Like, did you get that feel?
The message I got from one of the head construction guys, one of the foremen, and certainly Burke Nihill, the Titans president, CEO, is that there's not a bad seat in the place.
Wow.
And this one, you can see it hugs the field quite a bit more than current Nissan Stadium does. But yeah, there's enough there. You can envision, okay, this is going to be wild. Because we took a construction elevator and we had all the PPE gear on, helmet and vest. And I looked like I was ready to go to work. And went up to that 200 level. And just, you can see. The other part. So with all the forms and everything they built, there are prefab concrete structures that are basically the seating platform, where the stairs are and where they would bolt the seats to those things have been brought in from a couple of places, one being Atlanta, Georgia. And it's, I think the company is Stadia. There's 2,500 pieces of that. They put in 200 of them so far. They started back in January. So you start to see how the seating structure takes place. But it's going to be a really, really nice building.
I love it. It was
so
impressive
cool.
to see how steep it was, too, from one level to the next. I know from the level you guys were standing on, the picture I think somebody took of, like, the level right above it feels a lot. And I know there's that graph of, like, distance from the field in the new stadium versus current Nissan Stadium. And it's really significant, the difference in how close you are to the field in the second deck or the third deck or the terrace level versus now.
And I'll tell you that part of that, and I'll give you two final nuggets because I know we got to get to the next segment, but there's a big difference that will help that depth perception and how close you are versus where they currently play. Everything, when you walk in, surface level where they play on is street level.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
At current Nissan Stadium, that's like 70, 75 feet below
it, right.
So there's a difference there.
For sure.
And then the other thing I did get confirmation on, there will not be an implosion of current Nissan Stadium.
That's why I was going to next.
That process has already started. I think they've awarded the bid contract to the company that will do that, but it will be just a demolition job.
Okay.
The reason why I go back to the proximity of new Nissan to current Nissan and 700,000 square feet of glass.
Absolutely.
So there's just not, it's not feasible to do an implosion. So it'll be...
That's a great nugget.
There'll be a demo there.
Wow.
And I don't know, it'll be wrecking ball, but they have machines that will actually like bite and crunch the concrete and tear it up and throw it into...
Ramon wanted to push the buttons so badly.
I know, right?
Why do you
Red
know
button.
me? Okay. Red, my first
Sorry, I let the TNT out of your box.
You're going to have to settle for the first kick at a Nashville SC game. Another thing that's been on your list for a long time to do.
All I wanted was to push the button.
Here, look. I think there's a concession here. There's a compromise here.
Okay.
We get you trained up, get your PPE gear on, and you get behind one of those machines where you get to take the wrecking ball or whatever it is and knock the crap out of
something. Treat it like
something.
homecoming where you beat a car.
Call you Miley Cyrus. Ramon came in like a wrecking ball.
Yes, 100%. The button.
Or maybe there's something that you would be Nashville's hero. What if you were to take the first swing at what people, in my opinion, it seems like it's overwhelmingly hate, as you take the first swing to destroy the dollhouses in the end zone.
Yes.
Hey, look, just put me in a front loader, okay? Bulldoze, whatever you want, and just let me just ram into it. I ain't even got to knock down all of them, right?
No. Just like Ramon was here.
Chugga. You know what I'm saying? Chugga. Like, it'd be me right there on the screen.
The dollhouse.
I don't trust you. I don't trust you with heavy machinery.
He would be Nashville's hero if he was the guy who's like, all right, I'm getting rid of the dollhouses, everybody. They'd be like, yeah.
The amount of times Ramon has threatened to waterboard me, I don't know if I trust you with a wrecking ball.
All I have to worry about is if Ron Slay ran up there with me and like we just ghost riding the bulldozer, just letting it have its way.
We can live stream it on Zone TV.
Oh, that's perfect.
We will sell that.
A digital exclusive.
Yeah, you talk about subscribers and viewers. Oh my goodness!
Look, Bert's already been asking about the dirt. Okay, they could have sold that, missed out on that opportunity. Now it's drive a dozer into
Hear me
the
out.
doghouse.
104.5 The Zone Sports Fest. Help us demo the old Nissan Stadium. 615-737-1045. Coming up, we'll continue with Rhett, Bryan. We'll hit the NFL headlines. Mike Sando has some interesting stuff at The Athletic this morning. We'll talk about that with Rhett next.
It's Ramon and Kayla here for Window Nation, man. Telling you need to relieve yourself of high heating costs this winter. And Window Nation can help you with that. They're affordable, high-quality, energy-efficient windows, Kayla, will keep the heat inside, lower your monthly utility bills, and keep your home comfortable year-round, Miss Anderson.
That is right, Mr. Foster, because guess what? People, unlike just us, they're talking about Window Nation right now. Their windows frequently outperform and outlast the ones from the expensive guys, and they are going to give you more of the heat you're paying for that's going to stay inside your home. So if you want to do the right thing here in March, and at some point you're going to be turning on your AC and wanting to keep that in, go ahead and schedule a fast free estimate with the pros at Window Nation, 866-90Nation, or simply go online to windownation.com.
Hour 4 of RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee. Visit your local Scooters in Middle Tennessee and Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Rhett, Bryan in studio with us. Full crew here as we continue. And as well, after the show is over on the 104.5 The Zone podcast network, wherever you download podcasts. Rhett, you mentioned Mike Sando had an interesting piece of The Athletic this morning about what he is hearing. Because that's what everyone's talking about right now. What I'm hearing from the Combine.
Please welcome our segment this week, What I'm Hearing.
Here's 37 thoughts from the Combine.
Every day.
You sounded like the thought for my thoughts. I'm Derry Goebbels of Pawnee Public Radio from Parks and Rec.
Did I sound that bad?
No, that was the voice you were doing for the what I'm hearing.
I was like, man, did he just backhand compliment me?
Sir.
No, I know exactly who you're talking about. I love Parks and Rec.
It's so good. Mike Sando says 8 of the past 10 and 12 of the past 16 teams have drafted a quarterback number 1 in the NFL draft, except in unusual cases. One exec says Tennessee is not going to sign a mediocre quarterback in free agency and roll with him as their guy when they have the top pick. Another exec says, I don't think they are not taking a quarterback, double negative. I don't think they are trading with anybody. I think they're going to pick Cam Ward and move on. Rhett, it feels like the biggest thing that came out of Indy is that Cam Ward is QB1 in the NFL draft, maybe by a more sizable margin than we thought going into the Combine. Is that a fair assessment at this point?
From just milling around and talking to people, yes, that is a very fair assessment. And let me say this. On behalf of Shedeur Sanders, it's not because of the Coach Prime factor and all of that stuff. It's not about any of that. It's about the difference in the long-term projection of the difference of prospects. Because the other common theme when someone would talk about Cam Ward, what they would say about Shedeur is more ready right now. Accuracy, those things, but the long-range prospect, upside, higher ceiling is Cam Ward. Like you would hear people say, I've heard people say Cam Ward has, not that he's this, just don't quote me on this, but he has some Mahomes-type qualities to his game, making off-schedule plays, that flip that he does, in his passing.
Anyway. Pretty much went easy E right there. Don't quote me, boy, because I ain't said.
Which we played a little bit on the way back and forth.
Easy does it.
Easy does it. There you go.
But anyway, I think that is the consensus that it's Cam Ward. Now, let me say this. And, everybody and their brother is going to talk about what I'm hearing and post it in a blog or whatever, a podcast.
Right.
As we sit right here on, what is this, March the 5th?
Yes, sir.
Here's what I believe and what I think, and it's always subject to change because a week from today, the Wild Wild West opens up at 3 o'clock in what we call free agency in the new fiscal year in the NFL. I'm just listening to what both GM Mike Borgonzi said and told us, and same with head coach Bryan Callahan. They talk about, we won't pass on generational talent. Well, do we know what they mean by who is generational talent? No, they did not reveal that. They're playing poker here, right?
Sure.
So as it sits right now, if they stick and pick, they're taking Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. If they trade down, and everybody seems to kind of lean this way, that the Giants are probably the most popular spot to trade down to at 3 overall because the Giants have been put on notice. You talk about they bring back their GM and head coach, and it's like you're safe, but you're also on the hot seat. So we got to produce.
Right.
So they've got to get a quarterback. So, there's varying opinions about what that capital could be, couple of day 2 picks and maybe a future pick, because you're just going from 1 to 3. So I get that. And if they trade down, again, they take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I don't see him trading down super far. I'd say maybe Dallas is probably the floor at 12, but I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But I think there's also the possibility that they stick and pick and take Cam Ward. I think they do that. That is quite a possibility. But to hear what both the GM and the head coach have said, it's interesting to me because there's another thing that dropped. Teron Davenport with Jeremy Fowler.
Yes.
With the Nuggets they brought from the combine.
Yep.
And the one thing that is said in there is that Brian Callahan said that Shedeur Sanders has the decision-making, the timing, the accuracy. Those are the pillars he told us on the Official Titans podcast of what he's looking for before we get to the talent part of the passer.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I think they're playing poker in this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it hinges on what happens a week from today. Mm-hmm. And do they find a quarterback, that they want as a 1 year or whatever bridge in this thing? But also hearing in that piece that it was a good piece by Jeremy Fowler and Teron Davenport that Cam Ward had won over the coaching staff in the meeting. And that's important. And knowing that they're coming for top 30 visits.
Significant.
That's a whole day, by the way,
That's
too.
right.
Yeah.
You were going through the car wash at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. But only people know is in that building. But I think it's starting to come into frame as to what is going to happen. And we're just going to have to ride it out between now and 7 weeks from now.
I thought it was also interesting, just real quick, the note in here that Chad Brinker was in the building for Miami's win or Miami's game against Georgia Tech this year.
Where they were down 21-10, and
came
he
back.
engineered two touchdown drives to get them back into,
And Georgia Tech ended up winning that game. But interesting, Chad Brinker, and we talked about, hey, this is going to be a really quick process. Are the Titans willing to mortgage their future when the GM's only been looking at quarterbacks for a couple of weeks or a couple months now at this point? Clearly, Chad Brinker is not just now starting the process looking at these quarterbacks.
Right.
How about this for breaking news of quarterbacks? Tom Pelissero, the Raiders informed quarterback Gardner Minshew, they will release him when the new year begins next Wednesday. He has 46 career starts and still is only 28 years old.
Wow. That just came down, huh?
Just came down.
Wow.
There you go.
I have notifications set.
Look at you.
Because I'm sick that way.
So that puts
There's a
Broadcast
couple I
professional.
have. Now, you want to call complete insanity. Putting the notifications on on Tom Pelissero, on Adam Schefter. Like you do, no. You're like, I got 4 people reporting the same thing. So I just picked Pelissero, who usually retweets one of the other guys.
Yeah, right.
And then I have guys that I like with Dane Brugler at The Athletic, Daniel Jeremiah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that one just popped.
Yeah, it did.
Interesting. Rhett, I think it's interesting at this point. You talk about Cam Ward, and we get a comment on Facebook Live that says, "What's wrong with the media? Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter don't win games. The Titans have a bigger need at quarterback than anyone." While that is true, that doesn't mean you just have to take someone, because if Cam Ward is not the right fit in your mind long term, he's not going to win games for you either.
And listen to whoever in the chat said, what's wrong with the media? Let me explain it to you this way, because I understand what you're saying, but let's think about it a different way here. Mike Borgonzi is the wild card in this because he was a part of the Kansas City Chiefs front office in 2013 when they had the number 1 overall pick. They did not take a quarterback to tackle Eric Fisher. Yeah. He's also been a part of a draft in 2017 where they saw some things in a guy named Patrick Mahomes from Texas Tech, who other people had a knock on here and there with how that stuff. Mm-hmm. They traded up to 11, got him, and the rest is history. So the reason I prefaced all of that with this is, if you take a quarterback number 1 overall, you are starting a very fast clock on both of their positions as head coach and general manager. Mm-hmm. And that's just the truth of it. Whereas, and I'm not saying they would base a decision just on that, because Brian Callahan said, listen, regardless of whatever the decision is, I'm ready to coach this football team. No politicking aside, any of that stuff. But listen, the bottom line is, I'll tell you what's wrong with the media. The bottom line is, we don't know what they're thinking.
Right.
And if they decide that Cam Ward's the guy and they want him at number 1, they'll do it. It's that simple.
It is.
For sure.
But if someone like the Giants call up and they've got some things, because at the end of the day, you need more help to what you just said, Will. You need more help than just the quarterback. Yeah. You do not, for example, if you trade with the Giants, and let's say all you get is their 2, their 3 this year, and you get the 3rd overall pick. Let's just say it's that, and that doesn't sound very attractive. But that means you would have 4 picks in the top 65. And that 3rd that you get from them, because they alternate who has top picks in each round, that's the first pick in the 3rd round.
Basically,
and guess what the Titans do not have?
They don't have
a third round pick. And guess what that is? Rounds 2 through 5 is shaping up to be the very valuable part of this draft.
Rhett, do you think, we talked about this earlier, in terms of quarterbacks in free agency, if they make a move on a guy like Sam Darnold, if that is, something that does happen, is that a given sign then that they're not going QB? Because they kind of then show their cards, right? In a way. Unless you do believe you would still want to draft Cam Ward and put him behind Sam.
Yeah, I just I don't think it's the end-all, be-all that you're not drafting a quarterback. I mean, that still is on the table. It might not be in the top 5 picks. It might be in day 2. It might be in day 3.
Interesting.
Which doesn't get people excited, I understand. I get that. But no, it doesn't take that part away. Because, again, right now, Will Levis is the only quarterback you have under contract.
Right.
So there's definitely a need there. But, yeah.
It's crazy, like how many options there are.
Oh, yeah.
Like every day, I think.
And they're in the catbird seat. I mean,
right.
The draft comes to them. And the unfortunate part, I think, is unless the love for these quarterbacks or somebody intensifies, it's not a super great year to be in that position.
Yep.
If you're the number 1 pick last year,
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Now,
Absolutely.
that's where you could probably lean more towards they take their franchise quarterback.
Right. Or in that trade to move up to take Caleb Williams would have looked a lot different, and obviously was, than if you were to trade out this year.
Yeah.
And you would have probably just, like you said, you would have just stuck there and taken him. But you're talking 3 first-round picks if you had a chance to go draft
Cam
Caleb
Ward
Williams.
and or Shedeur Sanders, when they go into the facility, they could wow them. I mean, they already have, from what we're seeing reports of, good impressions. And, but anything is possible, but I think if they stick and pick, I'm not sure it's quarterback right now as it sits. But things are subject to change.
Well, there's a lot that has to happen before the draft, primarily next week.
Yes, indeed.
How do you envision this going as far as free agency? Just in your personal opinion, or what has to be done? NWI's on the line. It's just one that a kicker. How do you feel about you expect them to be busy, or
you got Ryan Stonehouse as a restricted free agent?
Yeah, I keep forgetting that.
He's restricted. Yeah. So you expect them to be shopping pretty big, Rhett, or what? Because I can't tell at this point. Because our focus has been number 1 overall pick.
Well,
because there's a lot of things.
We know they're in the position where they're in top 10 and money under the cap.
Yep.
And with a $23.8 million bump that's been reported last week, that gives them a little more breathing room in this. They don't have a ton of dead cap money or anything like that they've had in the past few years. Again, I think what they get as a reported day 1 or week 1, wave 1 splash will kind of tell you how they're navigating a little bit. Whether it's, of their own, Ryan Stonehouse, Nick Westbrook-Akine are one of the tops of the list.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Is Dylan Radins a part of that? We'll see. We'll see what his market value is. But do they go get him a guard? Do they get him a right tackle? Do they wait and they're trying to figure that out in the draft? I mean, there's plenty of needs, off-ball linebacker, safety, corner. I mean, you've got needs. And another wide receiver. And
absolutely.
That's the other thing I hear from the combine is that people aren't wowed by the wide receiver group this year.
You're right.
They're not.
Yeah. I mean, I think
there's
the
value
Golden
there.
Kid maybe climbed the most and maybe said he could be the first off the board.
And there's not a Malik Neighbors this year.
No.
There are some Roma Dunzes, maybe.
Well, the thing,
Sure.
like the guy you hear consistently mentioned for the last few months is Tetaroa McMillan from Arizona. And he's a big, long kid. but there's questions about potential durability because he's more of a wiry frame build.
Sure.
Because let's face it, the DeAndre Hopkins of the world are just, there's one.
Yeah.
And he's a long, lean prospect like that. But you start thinking about durability. But yeah, one of the first things that Brian Callahan mentioned at the end of the year presser a couple of months ago, we have got to find a solution at right tackle.
Amen.
And I'm not saying they're going to trade down to the middle of the round and get a right tackle. That is also a possible, thing on the board. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple things that are glaring. But I think they get some kind of a free agent quarterback in this just because they need a body. And everybody's pointing to Sam Darnold. I don't know that it'd be Sam Darnold on a one-year deal, or like you mentioned earlier in the show, a 3-year deal is really a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal.
Right.
Yeah.
But, there's some options. I keep looking. Jimmy Garoppolo is unrestricted.
Forgetting about him.
He's unrestricted. Gardner Minshew, as of right now, will be unrestricted. There's a couple of options there that it's like, I don't know.
Rhett Bryan joins us Wednesdays here on RKW, insider on the new Nissan Stadium, and of course, all the reaction on the draft. We will talk on the first day of the league year.
Woo.
Next week, Rhett. We should bring streamers and some champagne, some sparkling grape juice, so to speak.
This week.
Yes, we do.
For the new year that begins next Wednesday.
And, think about it, just a lot that happens in 7 days. Yeah. We will have what will be reported and then officially confirmed later in that, after I'm on next week of maybe who the Titans are going to re-sign, going to sign in free agency, who has agreed to terms, and what we're hearing.
That's right. I love that. Right. That's got to be a thing.
This time next week, Sam Darnold could be reportedly a Titan.
And here's the other part. In a week from now, could it be that the Titans have traded the number 1 overall pick? I don't know.
Sure.
That's also true.
I think that's maybe a little closer to the draft, and maybe that's an April prospect kind of thing, but we don't know.
The Bears traded with the Panthers during the SEC tournament for the number 1 overall pick, which is next weekend.
Okay.
That was right
and when
before
the
the new
Titans
league
had it, they traded it like 2 weeks before the draft. It was the middle of April.
Mm-hmm. I was in history class in McClung Museum at Tennessee.
McClung.
Well, there it is.
Rhett Bryan with us. Rhett, thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Thanks,
midweek
Rhett.
motivation, midweek motivation.
Yes, sir. Inky Johnson
That's what we're going to be
next.
hearing.
Plus, I love it. Adam Schefter says there is a logical fit for Daniel Jones. It is an AFC South team. We'll tell you who it is next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. If you've been looking for cars, you need to see the words buy here, pay here. Maybe you're thinking you are heading something or somewhere else. And look, some of those dealers, they come with certain reputations, but Nolensville.Automart, they have got the best reputation in the market because they're a little bit different. They've been doing business in Nashville for 61 years. Nashville natives that only sell clean title cars under $12,000. So if you're new to town and you need a place to trust, they have got you. And if you need a first car for a 16-year-old in your family, well, they got that for you as well. And if you don't want to take my word for it, check out the Google reviews. They are excellent. 615-242-1279 is the number. With one location on Nolensville Road, close to Thompson Lane, they'll get you in and out in an hour or less. The best part, they're the oldest buy here, pay here in Nashville. 615-242-1279. Flexibility, transparency, and honesty. That's why I recommend Nolensville.Automart. Give them a call, 615-242-1279. Wrapping up the show this morning on RKW, brewed by Scooter's Coffee. A special thanks to Rhett, Bryan, and Mike Tanier for joining us, and for the Caramelicious coffee blend of Scooter's for waking me up this morning.
Very good. Very essential.
Yes, very much so.
Buck Rising Show up next, and Adam Schefter says there is a logical fit for Daniel Jones, the Indianapolis Colts.
Wow. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It does.
Makes sense.
It does.
To me, when I see these reporters start to say logical fit, it means tampering already started.
For sure.
Agents are talking.
And you can't prove that.
Nope.
But you really think the Falcons had their first conversation with Kirk Cousins the minute tampering opened last year? That would be a no. I imagine the Colts have already made that ask then.
Man, my deal was done. My deal was done way before.
Burke's going to be happy. He's going to get retroactive. What's the statute of limitations on tampering charges?
7 years. If it's legal,
really?
It's got to be 7 years on anything.
Dang.
They can't go back and prove anything. But my agent talked to me, and we talked about a plan that would have happened.
It makes sense. It's happening every year.
You know
it
why?
always is.
Because nobody in this league likes working on uncertainty.
Right.
That's why these picks are so huge, and people get fired, and people get
jobs
awards.
depend on it.
They do. So you have to have your plan in place. Nobody loves control more than a coach. Okay? Period. Ain't no other way around it.
I'm very intrigued by the Sam Darnold buzz we get today.
Me too.
Very intrigued by it. And Teron Davenport adding in a great article again at ESPN.com that the Titans will be interested if he enters free agency. I don't know. It feels like there's a little bit of smoke there.
And I don't think it'd even be put in a report if there wasn't a little bit of interest. It's just about, okay, who really is going to go full force into this now? And do they now, after they meet with Cam on Friday, do they kind of still think, hey, we want to go Cam Ward, and we don't know if Sam's 3-year kind of deal would be worth it?
Yeah, I look at Sam Darnold, in my personal opinion, as a 2-year guy regardless of wherever he goes.
I do too.
I do too. Again, the risk of signing him to a 4 or 5-year deal is he ain't did enough in that big 1 year. But you look at what he's done over the course of last year. Again, he's Kirk Jr. at this point.
And he gets the chance to hit free agency again in his 20s. If you gave him a 3-year deal and he's only there for 2 and you've got an opt-out. That's in his best interest as well. It's kind of the middle ground between a long-term deal and a prove-it deal.
It is.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. We don't see a ton of that.
I would prefer to stay in the $30 million range to $35 million range. I don't think he's getting $40 million a year. I would be surprised if that happened.
What are the other teams, real quick, that we would consider want Sam Darnold?
For Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
Raiders and Giants.
Yes.
I think of the other, and Vikings. I think the Vikings are still certainly interested based on what we know.
Yeah, they send you out there, hey, go figure out this thing on your own, and to come back less than what you want, you go back to where you're known, and that's for him, Minnesota.
Right. I feel like the Raiders are in play, man.
If the Vikings really wanted him, they would have tagged him. They would have.
They would have.
Because the tag would have been $40 million.
Right there at that cost.
Done.
So that also tells us, too, that his market is less than $40 million.
It's less than $40 million. That's exactly right.
His market is
because if the Vikings felt like they could have also tagged him and traded him, where they could have flipped him for a couple of picks at that $40 million number, I think they would have done that too. But I don't think they see a suitable trade market at $40 million for a team to take on.
Let's look at the 2 guys that did get the franchise tag. A team was going to pay over 20 for T.
For T. Higgins, wide receiver.
T. Higgins, and the team was going to pay over $20 million for Trey. Remember, we had that conversation. Like, I don't know if he's worth. Well, his franchise tag has pretty much told us he's worth over $20 million,
and they'll sign him to a new deal.
So let's use that against Sam Darnold. I think other players that missed the franchise, Xavier Howard. Okay, see what the market.
Javon Holland.
Javon Holland. Yeah, that's who it was. Javon Holland. There's probably going to be higher when you look at Sam's. It's probably way under 40.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's 35 if I had to guess.
I'll take it for 30 to 35.
But the guaranteed money is going to have to be rich up front if you want an opt-out on the back end where you can get out of it and take away some of that risk. You're going to have to pay up at the beginning of the deal.
Why do I just think now Raiders? They just moved on. And I know Raiders.
They're probably the odds-on favorite.
Minshew wasn't going to be a starter, but I just feel like they're cleaning house and they're like, let's get Sam in here. We've got Chip Kelly now. Like, I don't know. It just seems to be, Sam's a West Coast guy at heart. He's from California. I don't know. Seems to be a thing.
Yeah. He worked in Minnesota.
Yeah.
For sure. We wrap up the show with our good friend Inky Johnson, a little bit of midweek motivation, who joins us now. Inky, what's up, man? How are you?
What's up, Ink?
What's going on, guys? Great to speak with you guys, man. Great to be on.
Yes, sir.
You too,
you
How are
too.
you all?
Good.
Great.
We're real good.
Awesome, man. I want to start us off with a quote. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. You know, as I was catching the tail end of you guys' dialogue, man, I know you spoke about a lot of guys, and I heard the name T. Higgins come up. And I want to share something real quick about T. Before I started speaking, you know, and kicked off my speaking career, I was working at a nonprofit in Knoxville called Emerald Youth Foundation. And so I was the sports director. And so I had like 1,500 kids. I would create devotionals for the kids. I had a swim team, basketball teams, you know, track team, you know, all these different sports. And some of them I didn't know anything about, of course, swimming. So we started the basketball league, and they were telling me about this kid, man, this high flyer, you know, he could ball. And so I was like, all right, cool. And I hadn't seen him yet. And I come in the gym one night, and this kid is smashing on everybody, dunking on everybody, baller. And it was T. Higgins. And every night, you know, after the basketball league, I would take him home, you know, and we got extremely close, and he turned into my guy. And so I remember when he committed, you know, and he was talking about UT, and then he went and flipped to Clemson, and he was telling me about it. And I'm so happy for him, but like, because I seen him work. I spoke at his high school. Now, I know he's probably not excited about the tag, but I'm happy that he's seeing some of the fruits of his labor with where he comes from. But one of the things that I spoke to T about in the league, you know, he was a baller. So, you know, sometimes he would get off on guys and they would foul him and they would try to take him out of his game and they would try to frustrate him, you know. And so people would talk about controlling emotions because we were at a nonprofit and, you know, it was a spiritual thing. And so we had the devotion going and you would talk to people about, hey, man, you should respond like this. You know, if this happens, you should talk about it like this. And I talked to him about with leadership, you need people to see different elements of you and see how you navigate through situations. And so don't try to mask the frustration. Don't try to mask when you go through opposition and adversity and things are not going the way you want it to go and you don't want to show your emotions. Sometimes you need to show up in the ecosystem and let people see different sides of you, but always understand the dichotomy of control. What's within my control and what's not in my control. I said because as a person, it's a certain level of arrogance attached to an individual's personality if you have to show up and always be perfect. If you have to show up and always be your best. If you have to show up and things always have to be in order. Because technically in life is not going to work that way. Sometimes you might not always be your best, but you need to bring your best. What is your best like on that particular day? Sometimes I might not be feeling it, but I need to show up and tell my team, hey, man, I'm not feeling it today, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to give you everything I got. Because we have to always understand when we're trying to navigate through life, when we're trying to be great, when we're trying to be excellent, you might not always be your best, but you have to be willing to bring me your best. Let's go out and be great, man. Go impact the world. That's my time. Peace.